on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome to the April 14th, 2025 meeting of the Downtown Development Authority. Laura, please take it over from here.
Jim Knight. Vito
Present.
Woodson. Present. Brian Rosen.
Present.
Alan Costello.
Present.
And Aaron Ellie Burton.
Yes, you're present.
Nope, I'm fine.
Change up. You change up the butt pads.
I'm just short.
We need a pillow, not a chair move, just a riser.
You got a phone book.
Yeah.
Oh. Yay.
Wow. Go right to new business, to comments from the audience?
No, we need to
Approve.
have agenda approval, please.
Oh, okay.
So moved.
Does anybody have any okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, agenda's approved. Now,
Number 2 is public comments and partner reports. So we welcome anyone from the public to come up to the podium if they have any comments regarding anything on the agenda or off the agenda.
hi,
Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone.
please state your name.
My name is Mavis Benson. I have Avalon Gallery and I chair the Merchants Association. So I am here today representing the merchants for the discussion of the A-frame signage. When we speak about A-frame signs, it's important to begin with perspective. It's about how we look at things, and more importantly, how we can help others see them through a more positive and productive lens. Some may view an A-frame sign as clutter or obstacles on the sidewalk, but from our vantage point, they're invitations. These signs are not just practical tools for visibility. They help our customers find their way, discover what's new, and feel connected to the unique experiences offered in each storefront. An A-frame sign or signage board, signs can be more than functional. They can be expressions of creativity and individuality that can make our downtown so unique. In a community celebrated for its arts, culture, and independent businesses, every detail contributes to the overall experience. When thoughtfully designed, A-frames can enhance the streetscape, becoming part of a visual landscape and reinforcing the identity of our district as a place where art isn't just displayed, but woven into daily life. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the use of A-frame signs was temporarily permitted as a way to support struggling small businesses. This leniency acknowledged how vital visibility was during a challenging time, and it worked. Merchants quickly noticed that these signs helped attract foot traffic and engage customers. However, that flexibility was revoked a few years ago despite how effective it proved to be. We're not asking for anything unregulated or messy. We support clear, consistent guidelines to ensure signs are safe, accessible, and in harmony with the look and feel of downtown. Can I do my last little sentence? Was that me? Okay. We really appreciate the DDA support in advocating for renewed and thoughtful allowance of A-frame signs. For many of our merchants, each and every small advantage helps, and this is one that has already proven its value. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if you don't mind, Ms. Benson, would you mind sticking around
I am.
in case we have some comments or
Yeah.
questions for you when we get to that discussion? I'd greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. I plan to do that. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with comments from the public?
And I don't see any of our partners here yet, so I think we can move
Can we
on
leave it open for
If
later?
it's up to the board, if there's one of our partners that comes and you would like to hear something from them, then
It's okay with the board if any of our partners show up, like the police.
Yeah.
or the chamber? We can have them speak.
Yes, because I have a list of things, because I've been all over this month, that I thought they would be here so that I could have some of these things addressed. If they don't show up,
You want to address them anyway?
I can't.
Well, that can,
Under
yeah,
comments?
under
Or-
comments.
You want me to
Under
do
your
that?
comments.
Okay, or yeah, I was gonna say, or under my comments. By then, the audience has probably slept and turned off.
We all sleep when you speak.
I know that.
Okay.
I'm aware. Remember, my next meeting is the last meeting.
Unless we ask nicely.
I know.
Okay, everybody, so we'll keep that open if anyone does come. Otherwise, under comments, we'll make sure we handle it, Vera. Thank you. So public comment is closed. We go to number 3A.
Great. So 3A is Uptown Park, or Upton Park. So I think the applicant is here to present, as well as the city is here as well.
No, it's fine. I'll just use the thing. Good afternoon. My name's Gareth. I'm the principal planner and designer with Upton Park Mixed Use here in the city of Delray Beach. Just to give you a little kind of brief introduction of what we talk about, the local brief history of the project, existing site conditions, proposed site ground floor, the residential level of this mixed-use building, proposed elevations, firstly on the arcade side, which is on a street corner, and the proposed elevations on the non-arcade side. I'll go into a little bit of detail of the architectural style we plan to propose and give you some renderings for you guys to take a look at. So this property is located on the corner of Northwest 5th Avenue and Northwest 1st Street. It's 5 blocks west of Swinton. It's within the West Settlers District, and it's zoned in the Central Business District. It's a non-contributing masonry structure from 1959, and it's been owned by my client Michael Hockton since 2019. He's been a valued customer client since September 2022. This gives you the existing site and elevation conditions. So it's a relatively small site for a corner lot. It's just slightly under 4,000 square feet. It's only 50 feet wide, 76 feet deep. It's currently an existing commercial boxing gym, open to public and members and different things. So it's big fabric of the local community. It's only about 1,300 square feet at the moment, and that's basically non-contributing elevations based on the historical reference. And it's relatively dated structure. It's had numerous layers of improvement over the last 60, 70 years. There is, to the left there, the yellow area. There's a parking or asphalt parking area, but it's not dedicated to sign with any strips or any line striping. It's basically a parallel parking situation for a maximum of 4 to 6 vehicles. The property to the east of the gym at the moment is vacant and will kind of lead us into possibilities of future expansion of the neighboring property. Here's our proposed site plan. So as you can see, the area in brown is the renovated boxing gym, which will increase to about just over 1,500 square feet. To the left of that, we'll have a standalone retail space, which could be used for whether it's an office or whether it's a retail store. And the blue area wrapping both corners would be a 10-foot wraparound arcade for the corner of Northwest 5th and 1st Street. This, you'll say, obviously at this point you can see the parking has been removed. In all of our research and studying the size of the property that I mentioned earlier, there is land development regulations that we're not required to provide parking if the structure is 2 stories and below. And I've just put there on the note on the bottom that the LDR regulation that permits that. So there is locally lots of street parking, and in the neighborhood, there's numerous parking lots also. Going to the second level, there's 3 different colors here, so you see the aspects of the 3 different one-bedroom units. They'll have a private entrance from the arcade below. Each has balcony views over the arcade. They do come with rooftops, so the requirements do allow us to do a rooftop in this situation. And this up on the rooftop for summer kitchens, outdoor dining, dedicated fire pit area for the residents. And it basically gives whoever's going to be living there a good 360-degree view of the downtown neighborhood of Delray. Here we're looking at the arcade side proposed elevations. So as you can see, this is on the left is Northwest 5th Avenue, and on the right is Northwest 1st Street. So the arcade literally wraps around both street corners, so providing shade and weather protection for any users passing by. Opportunities that I mentioned earlier, if the neighborhood either side of this property were to ever to go through any renovation, there's a large opportunity that the arcade then could be continued along the city blocks. It's maximized storefront. So from the original elevations, you saw the building had very little windows. In this case, it's literally maximized storefront. So that will allow people passing by visual aspects and be able to see in and see what's actually going on in the different forms of business. Secure private entrances with decorative gates to allow people access. And intentional basically is to have the 3 different uses, but in a building where there's barely seamless, you can't really tell that one is one and one is used for something else. We're using a continued use of proportion and scale in the various materials. And we've used unique details throughout, decorative gates, grills, there's a bike rack on site, various other elements based on the architectural style, which I will get to shortly. These 2 elevations here, now these are the non-arcade sides, so these are basically going to be the areas that will back up onto a neighbor. Now obviously at the moment, the one on the left backs up to a vacant property, but is set up in such a manner that, in the interim period of time, it's got some decorative elements, which you'll see later with the renderings. And then, eventually with a building being built next door, they will become basically secondary elevations. This is the architectural style that we've chosen to use with the color rendering on the right there, and I'll show you some 3-dimensional ones that will give you a little bit more depth. The problem you have with a 2-dimensional elevation is, everything seems to be in the forefront, but shortly after this slide, I'll show you some renderings and you get a better picture of the depth of the project. So it's plain shape, basically. It's, we're using an art moderne and streamlined modern style back from the 1930s, 1945. Which is fitting with the neighborhood at this moment. The building material would be masonry, all the smooth walls and surfaces, the roof types are flat with parapets. The height is 1 to 3 stories is allowed. Window type fixed, basically glass blocks, awnings or jalas windows. We have rounded corners, horizontal grooves and the elements that on the elevation. Balustrades, the railing, the coping on the roof deck. So, we basically took all the characteristics from the style that we're going back to look to replicate or at least take influence from and bring it into present day. This now will give you guys a little bit better understanding of depth. So if you want to look at the aerial views from the east view and the aerial corner, we're looking in the corner, you're looking a lot higher up, so you can see the actual rooftop and the various elements beyond. If you're looking at the aerial on the east left side, you can barely see the rooftop behind the 2-story residence. So it's we did that way to set it back so it's not, in your face, basically right on the street corner. Down on the left side there, you can get a view of the arcade, if you were on a human level walking into the arcade. The different storefronts, the private entrance to the residences there. On the right side, the one aerial on the west view, you can see the lesser side that's got the decorative elements for the time being as before the neighbor comes in next door and then possibly has the option of continuing the arcade down the street. The bottom right is the 3 entrances to the residences and their own little setback balcony, which again, follows the style of with the railing and the different kind of setback requirements needed for the residences to be permitted up in that area. So you've got numerous views here showing the massive model. So you can see it's basically predominantly on the corners. You know, it's going to be a kind of almost a flagship of the Northwest 1st, Northwest 5th. I do know across the road, the CRA have also built a brand new building also. So it's going to be kind of, you know, the area is just starting to move to another level, and these aerials depict the offsets of the various levels. Like I said, the balconies are all set back, and human scale has basically been, you know, decided and kind of kept that in mind throughout the process. If you're looking at the storefronts, you know, Michael currently uses it as a boxing gym. It will remain a boxing gym. I think the interest to see youth and people in there doing various gym activities, people walking by, I think it would be an attractive element for people to kind of look in and see what actually is going on in that building. So in summary, now we're jumping, it would be around a 10,000 square foot project, basically rejuvenating the West Settlers District. It's an attractive new project for both the current users and the new users. Operated for the neighbors, like I said, to possibly connect the arcade further. So just like we have in downtown or in other areas that are being developed, it's a possible opportunity that this will happen with other neighbors and different other developers. The context is being enriched in the neighborhood, and for myself it's a step towards expanding the delight of possibly working and playing in a vibrant downtown Delray Beach. So in closing, I'd like to appreciate the opportunity to present the project, and I'll take any questions if you have any.
Yep, Jim?
A couple questions. First of all, I want to make sure there's a typo, I think, in here. It's not 0.9 acres. You didn't do that. It's 0.09 acres, right? I believe the site size.
It's just under 4,000 square
You're right,
feet.
so
Yeah.
0.09. Not,
Yeah,
not
that's
0.9. I'm like, wow, that's 1 acre lot out there.
That's what I thought too.
Like I said,
Anyway,
it's a relatively small lot for a corner.
Yeah, no. First of all, I love it. I mean, the fact with the area, with the covered area there for the elements and everything else, so forth. You meet the code, not required to have parking. Will the units, you know whether they'll be rental or for sale? Have you figured that out yet? Or?
That's at the moment it's undecided. It's, you know, it'll be basically a condominium kind of setup with it being all in the same building. But whether the owner, you know, decides to rent them or decides to use them as put them up for sale, then, you know, again, that's his decision, I guess.
And I guess the only other comment is I hope the development services pushes it through very quickly so you can get under construction right away, because this is exactly what we've been trying to get and have happening out west and so forth. And to have some private sector investment going out there is fantastic, and very excited for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Vera?
Hello, Gareth.
Hi.
I wrote it down phonetically so that I could remember. That's the teacher in me. I have mixed emotions, obviously, about this. I walk on foot in that neighborhood often, and know a lot of the merchants over there. They didn't even know, you know, that I was working for them until I finally disclosed what I do when I ask questions. But I have a few things that concern me, and it is to do with parking first and foremost, because I see long term that not building the parking within the structure for the residents, long term, that's going to become an issue. And so it'll be this fight between the residents and the city for how and where they're going to park. I know there are 2 public lots, including the lot at Spady Museum, and the folks that, you know, purchase, if they're condominiums, may not mind walking, may or may not. But that area still has not completely resolved itself, and I'm just going to say it in that way. But by the time you build, maybe some things will have, you know, transpired, changed a little bit. But for someone to buy and spend money on a condominium, and I don't even know the price break point or what have you for that potential, I just don't know how that is going to work in terms of the parking. The other question that I have is whether or not you've been in contact with the residents of that area or the folks that are part of the set to have discussions about long-term what type of businesses you plan to bring in over there, because the history of that neighborhood is that was the Black business district. And the boxing gym has gone over there, and it's been very lively. I walk by there and I see them working out and all of that. But what types of businesses will be brought in order to support the financial and economic impact to the community that it will serve? There is what is called a set transformation plan. I've read it twice, and one of the things that they want is economic development. So you are bringing jobs to the area, but in terms of long term, what does it look like for the businesses that will be courted to go into that area?
Well, see, at the moment, basically, the gym side of things, it's going to remain. So, luckily it's going to be slightly larger. It's going to be more attractive for the visual aspect of it. So, and it is, Michael, the owner, can let you know it's open to the public. He does, encourages people to come in at any time. So, it's good for the children. It's good for the neighborhood. In terms of the one remaining retail space, it's almost it's a TI basically. So you could be literally anybody could kind of come in there and like you said, a neighborhood, someone in the neighborhood, whether it's an art, someone presenting their own physical art, whatever it may be, historical art from the neighborhood, those kind of groups. It's really tough to really say at this moment in time, but it will be basically an empty retail shell, which there's opportunities for whoever decides to come along and give Michael a call and say, hey, I want to, I'm on this street, I want to move and be in your small space and be part of the community. So
I also have one last one. That building that you spoke of that the CRA has developed is having, I'm not going to say potential hardship because Renee, do not call me, is having a difficult time finding people to go in to the upper level. And so with the open storefront being there, I'm sure your rents will be higher than what the CRA is offering. And I'm just wondering if you or he has thought about the long-term impact of not having revenue come in for that location.
It's a possible opportunity that he ends up, that can be his shop of some kind, boxing supplies. Again, it's very difficult to tell at this point in time. It's a 3-year process so far, and we're going through we're going through Central Business District.
We know you're not the owner, and there's only so much you can answer about this. You can't really ask Gareth these questions, I think, because he's here to.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he's here.
I hear you. He is the developer, and I got that. But I'm just saying, we need to think about dark spaces because the West is dark. A lot of spaces are dark, and all I'm saying is, I was hopeful that they had already somebody that they were locked in with. That's what I was hoping.
I just wish you would have asked. I don't want to put the poor guy on the spot because the parking is more an issue than that. And, Okay. Do you have any other questions?
That's all I have.
Okay, Brian.
I just want to say, we're putting a lot in a little, but I think that's what this area needs. I think this is right on 5th Avenue. This is a main street. I think it's great that there's an owner user who's been running a business there, who's making a future investment in the area to, expand his business. And I know personally it touches a bunch of those kids in a very positive way in that community, and I think it's a great space. And, if he wants to, the code allows you to build residential above the commercial in these downtown core areas without parking. That's an onus all these owners are aware of and, are taking on. But there are people that have bikes that live downtown that don't have cars that don't necessarily need parking. And I know there's a lot of new development happening in that area, specifically across the street. Maybe there's a big parking garage as part of the new project that eventually happens over there. So again, he's fitting within our LDRs, and he's making a big investment in this neighborhood. And again, it's a smaller business that's already operating there and made an investment, and I think it looks good, and here to support it.
Thank you.
Aaron.
Hello. I just don't know how because I was on the parking board for a couple of years, and what happens is you build this building with no parking. And then the residents who buy in there get upset because they don't have any parking. No one they bought in there with no parking. So
They'll be
then
aware of that at the point.
it doesn't matter. They
They
can
know
sign
that
the
before
copy
they
10
buy it.
times. They don't care.
And
They
again,
still
I'm not
say
saying
I want
he's
parking.
selling them. He may not sell them. He may be using them again.
Fighters may stay there and train. Maybe
Right.
a program he runs. Again, it's.
I don't know if I could make
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Cool. For the record, Katharina Palavoda, Senior Preservation Planner. We did review the residentials on top of the structure, and per our code before the incentive where the lot is small enough, I believe it's 65 feet in width and the maximum of 2 stories. Before they even had that code section, per our review, they wouldn't have even needed to do parking for those 3 residential areas either. So even if they didn't apply that, they wouldn't have needed parking for the residential. It most likely would have been just the retail below. So that code specifically helps them out for the retail spaces, the new retail spaces that they have on the bottom floor.
Aaron? Aaron, anything else?
I mean, I'm glad to see development, but I don't get it. I mean, if the CRA can't fill up their own spaces cheap, what are you going to bring to the table as far as another empty building in Delray?
Well, we're only really going to be filling one space, and it's on the street level. So,
empty building. No problem.
the same commercial space is staying in the building. Once it's renovated, the boxing gym will be back in there.
Gareth? So it's 4,000 square feet right now?
The lot itself is 4,000 square feet.
How much is the building right now?
It's only 1,300.
Okay, so you're adding 2,700?
It's going to be almost a 10,000 square foot building,
5 and 5.
give or take, because you got the
Okay.
whole rooftop. So,
Well, that was another question. So,
so it's almost 333.
well, that's it. So, we're not building apartments on the roof, but we are building structure on the roof.
There's access for private use of because obviously we're literally on the lot lines and while we're maxing out the property, there's an opportunity, so if people living in there, they can go up and entertain and be on the roof. There's a barbecue built in, summer kitchen with fire pits.
But there's going to be structure up there.
Just the stairwell to get up there.
Just the stairwell.
There's a stairwell and then there's a covered patio as you come out of the stairwell.
Covered patio. At what point does the covered patio become a third level?
It doesn't.
No, I'm asking her.
So this was also part of our discussion. We did review this with building and we did review this with fire codes, and between the 3 of our definitions, floor, ceiling, and walled area spaces that were air conditioned, there was at one point where they had a bathroom in there and we had to call that a 3rd floor, so that would have kicked in parking. So the removal of the 3rd floor, we no longer apply this as a 3rd floor, so they can still use the no parking
So
incentive.
you guys have considered that already. Good.
Yes.
Okay. The next thing is did anyone do an actual parking? I'm assuming 2 spots for each one of the top units, plus whatever for the downstairs retail. Okay. Bottom line is, Gareth, and this is not you. We're very concerned about parking here at the DDA. Parking's always been a problem in downtown Delray, and it never gets easier. It always gets harder. Right now, in the area where you're building, which by the way, the project looks great, and I appreciate the whole growth of the building and also the 2nd story, and the 3rd story. That's not a 3rd story. But that's fine. All I know is that not your project, but the next ones down the pike, I think we need to readdress the LDRs. That's the recommendation I think that I'd like to add to it, and Jim's about to tell me I'm right.
I'm not going to tell you you're right.
Like what LDR?
So
specifically?
my comment would be that I've occupied 2 spaces on Atlantic Avenue. One was right here in Michael Weiner's building. 0 parking spots. I had 8 employees in there at one point in time. There was another 10 next door to me and 5 behind them. None of us had parking. What'd we do? We walked to one of the parking garages. Happened to be Federspiel was right there. Another space that I occupied was a little further to the east on the north side of Atlantic. 0 parking. And it's not uncommon to see in a downtown. Right now we have a slew of parking out west. That's why they didn't even raise the parking in lieu parking fees for out west of Swinton and pushing everywhere else. And so the reality is, between Uber, Lyft, things like that, so forth, a lot of people don't need the parking. I mean, I have a son that lives in Boynton. he has a parking spot, but he doesn't use it. He's got a bike and he's got a skateboard, and he uses that most all the time to get around because he's in the downtown environment and so forth. And so I just think that we shouldn't push back on something until it's a problem. And if you looked at, we'll go review the study here in a little bit on the parking in the downtown and everything. We don't have a parking problem in the downtown. We have a parking perception in the downtown. And I think that's a reality. I mean, I think we've had some discussions that maybe the management of the parking could be better, and they could push some people to different areas and so forth. And I think that'll be part of our discussion later. But I just don't see it out here right now. And you know what? If it becomes where there is a parking issue, we'll find a way and build the garage. Because if there's a parking issue east of 95, you got to keep working on this, east of 95, if there becomes a parking problem there, guess what? That means we'll have huge success happening there. The businesses are thriving and everything else. So I just tend to totally disagree about the requirement. I think the LDRs wanted to not encourage agglomeration of properties. That's why they did that. And I think this is a great project, and I hope that it gets done and built and is a huge success. Thank you.
I certainly don't disagree with almost everything you've said. And I've been fighting for years of the fact that there really isn't a need for meters and stuff and parking. But the truth is, we just built Atlantic Crossing with a huge underground parking lot, which I knew, in my mind, because of our lack of a parking problem, that it was mostly empty. But I found it's mostly full. And I don't want to wait until there is a problem. And I certainly don't want to stop this project. And there is no problem, especially east of 95 and west of Swinton. There is no parking problem, and that's why the LDRs are the way they are. But I think they need to be revisited and constantly reviewed so that we don't get more of a parking problem.
I think that's why, Chairman, that's why I brought that up, is because if you're going to start to develop the infrastructure going in to support the growth, I think is paramount to making sure that it's a smooth transition to this lively neighborhood that we're discussing. Luckily, there's already parking lots there so that there is enough space to build on, to build a structure in the future. But Gareth, you said something that I actually am going to take home. You said that the kitchen on the top, it's called a summer kitchen.
Yeah, we just
Oh, good. Okay, because when I don't cook, I'm going to tell my husband it's a summer kitchen. It's closed until
Okay.
then. It's a good
do that
answer.
too, yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate
Someone
that
want
one.
to make a motion on
Yes.
this project?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need to do a vote, Liliana, or can we just do it? All right, aye, it was all ayes, so it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
He's the anchor. He's going to be the anchor. He's his business.
Okay?
His business is the anchor tenant in the building. You know, so it's not going to be empty because the majority of the ground floor is going to be occupied.
You can do that too.
Yeah.
Hi, we're going to get you in a second as soon as we calm down. Are we ready to go to 3B? Okay. So are you,
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
are we ready for 3B? Okay. So, American Social.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. For the record, Christina Belenke of Miskell Backman. My address is 14 Southeast 4th Street in Boca Raton. It's a pleasure to be here before you this evening. You've seen this project before. It was about a year or so ago now. And we actually worked our way through the approval process with staff and formally received our site plan approval. But you know, obviously during the way, we're dealing with land development regulations, we're making adjustments, and ultimately American Social looked at the finished product and said they can't move forward. It was really the outdoor seating area that was decreased pretty tremendously throughout the process from what they had initially envisioned. And so in working with the property owner, we said, let's take a minute, let's go back to the city and see if we can come to some sort of modification that works for everybody. If you've ever been to an American Social, the outdoor seating element is fairly important. You can see in these renderings, just initially, they have kind of a large canopy and covered area. They hang chandeliers out there, in certain instances TVs, and really want an outdoor space that is very much usable. The finished product from our approval had an outdoor space of less than 5 feet. So it was barely enough to fit maybe a 2-seater table with room to walk by. So that's why we're here today. This is the property. It's across from the city's parking garage at the corner of 2nd Avenue and Northeast 1st Street. Again, this is the site plan that was approved. We're looking at just that corner unit specifically. The existing conditions, just to again put it into perspective with what is there today. And then this was our previously approved site plan. So essentially with this site plan, we are maintaining the building in its existing configuration and adhering to the pedestrian streetscape requirements, and then the remaining balance area was able to be used as and counted towards a sidewalk cafe. So we are changing some of those elements now, and I'm going to walk you through kind of each of the changes that are being proposed. So again, in kind of looking at making the outdoor space more usable, you can see just initially this area here was part of the existing building. It was enclosed in our prior site plan approval. And so American Social is seeking to open that up, create more patio space. Again, I think, especially in an environment like Delray, that outdoor seating is incredibly important. And then a couple other kind of minor modifications that I think is very helpful. This area here is where the entrance was previously located on the approved site plan. And so now American Social is seeking to move their entrance to the corner, makes it more prominent, and allows them, again, to utilize that area for kind of a consistent open space outdoor seating area. One of the waivers that is required relates to the pedestrian streetscape. And so we are specifically referring to this pink circle here, adjacent to the on-street parking space. And then again, here where you have on-street parking. And so just to refresh everybody's recollection, I think you've all heard of the pedestrian streetscape requirements before, but you basically need to have 15 feet from the edge of curb to your building. And again, this is an existing structure, so we can't shift the location of the building. But we're required to have 4 feet for a pedestrian curb zone. For a curb zone. So that's where you put your landscaping, your utilities, things along those lines. Then we're required to have a 6-foot pedestrian clear zone. And that's where you have absolutely no obstructions. Everybody can walk and enjoy the sidewalk. And then 5 feet of remaining setback that can be used for whatever you'd like, sidewalk cafe included. And so on the prior plan, we were meeting those requirements. And you can see, again, where we have the on-street parking space, the outdoor seating areas had to go in. They weren't quite as wide as you have kind of on this corner, on this side, because we were required to set that outdoor seating area back an additional 4 feet. And we're proposing to effectively eliminate the curb zone in the instances or the areas where you have the on-street parking. We are still able to put all of the landscaping within these landscape buffers that are provided. All of the utilities, the necessary utilities, can be placed within those landscape areas. On this side, it's actually quite a bit wider than 4 feet, so we have a larger curb zone in those areas. It's just we're seeking to eliminate the curb zone, again, adjacent to this on-street parking space and adjacent to this on-street parking space. And as a result, your walkway is kind of more uniform as well. You can go straight up and straight to the side, as opposed to kind of on our prior version, you're kind of coming down here. This would technically be your curb zone, and then, the walkway continues in kind of an indented manner. So that's the curb zone waiver that's being requested. And the second relates to the canopy modifications. And this is one where we were going back and forth with staff quite a bit on interpretations and what the intent of the code was, because there's some provisions that seem to encourage your canopy and covering to go out to the property line and encourage, having shaded walkways. But then there's kind of conflicting provisions where your awning can be a maximum of 5 feet. So that's where we landed in the original approval, which is this top version. So our canopies that we were providing were restricted to 5 feet in length. And so when you're out in Florida in the Florida sun or rain, 5 feet isn't really going to do much at all. So what we're proposing to do is kind of revert back to the initial intention for the outdoor seating area and have a covering that extends to the property line. And that just makes that outdoor seating area much more usable, provides better protection from the elements, and is just better for function all around for American Social. And so in order to do that, that's a waiver request. And here you can see the proposed modifications as well with that canopy. Those are the elevations. And that's really the extent of it. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have this afternoon.
I do.
Yes.
So that the wood slats that come down, I thought that they were in this view but not the other, but they're in the view that you just took away.
Let me go
But you can see
back.
through them. Yeah, up top.
Yes, so they're going to be
all the way
around.
around.
They're going to be around the corner element, but then you can see this is. Let me get to this button as well, where you have kind of the outdoor seating that goes into the building. The wood slats are not at that corner. This is kind of the entrance. You have Pure Life just across this drive aisle here. Right. So on that side of the building, the wood slats will not be present, but kind of on that main outdoor seating area around the corner, it will be there.
So it's sort of like a trellis going sideways. Okay, all right.
Essentially.
So the awnings were lower, so the canopy goes up, but the trellis piece goes down the front. The awnings were...
Right, the awnings, let me go back to that picture. We did need to kind of consult with our construction team as to how to actually make this function, because there were some issues if we had support columns. So they did have to be widened slightly. But yes, I think generally speaking, where you have the wood, it is raised a little bit.
Okay. I just went by the building this morning again. I still don't understand what those things are that are on your building now.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Look like awning holders without awnings. Look like in New York, I remember a building that was condemned, and they actually ran bolts and nuts and bolts through it and tightened it to hold the building together. It kind of looked a little like that. So, anyway,
it's not an attractive building
this
right
is
now.
really nice. Yeah, this is definitely more attractive than the awnings too.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this, I understand totally why you want to get the 4-foot waived for the parking areas, and I like the fact that the door gets moved in the center. I think all the improvements are great, so that's me. Jim?
Couple of comments. First of all, I believe this was Meisner Electric, right, that had this building previously, and they sold the property, correct, right? Yes. And so it's great to bring a dark building here that's been dark for a period of time too. It's got to be. It's been a couple of years. It might be more than that.
Big corner.
Yeah, a big prominent corner on Pineapple Grove, right? So I'm excited about seeing this happen. I like the fact that, you've got the old school square garage that's right there. This particular property happens to have quite a bit of parking. Where are you doing your queuing for valet? That's the only thing I was curious about, that I was wondering. Have you figured that out yet?
Yeah, that hasn't
or?
been worked out yet. Ultimately, it will need to be reviewed by the city. We'd probably have to lease some of their on-street parking spaces for valet and negotiate, the valet operator where they're going to park those spaces. So that's still to be determined.
Yeah, I think it's important that that happens sooner than later. Don't let it get too far down the path and so forth. But I've seen their business at Meisner Park and in Fort Lauderdale and so forth, and they seem to do a good business and have a young, hip vibe and so forth. And I think it'll bring some much-needed energy to that particular intersection. Stretch the avenue, as they say. I'm in support of it. Thank you.
I had I had the question also about the valet, but on your modification in the book, one of the previously approved has a lot of tree lining, and then on this modification, the tree lining is taken out. Is it just it was submitted without the trees, or are the trees going back in? Or?
The trees are going to be exactly the same as previously approved.
Oh, good. Okay.
We're not making any modifications to the landscaping.
Okay, I walk by this every week, well, up until about 3 weeks ago, because I go to the Ramen Lab to play bingo on Tuesday nights. And I'm sitting here going, come on. Like I'm waiting for this to get started. So I'm glad that we're to this point now where we're reviewing and it's on its way. So I'm glad that you stuck with it and stuck all the way through. Thank you.
Brian?
It's a really important corner of our downtown. I think, the things you're looking for, the relief for the 2 parking spaces. It's an important corner of our downtown, and I think the relief you're looking for with the 2 parking spaces makes a lot of sense. You still have the 6-foot sidewalk, which is the most important thing, and again, it makes the continuity that you illustrated. I liked it. Again, for it, and the changes look great. So,
Thank you.
Those are my thoughts.
I agree with Brian exactly, and with those guys. Aaron? Okay.
I mean, the canopy is going to be able to go to the end of the sidewalk?
It'll go to the property line. So it'll cover all of the outdoor seating. It doesn't extend over the sidewalk.
How far from the building does it go? How far
From
is the
the
property line?
building to the property line, I want to say it's about 9 feet or so,
Okay.
give or take, depending on where it is.
Here.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it sounds good. Just for what you're trying to you're trying to say, if you have covered seating, you can seat more people, but it doesn't matter how much of an awning you have coming out. You're going to get sun in there no matter what. So I mean, you just waste some money. So
It is Florida.
yeah,
Yeah.
it looks
Okay.
good though.
I don't hear anything negative. Everything sounds great. Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
your time.
much.
You.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Laura?
Well, thank you for that. So just kind of some supportive comments to those 2 projects, just as it relates. I just wanted to say this now since it's here for us to talk about. But businesses, as new development comes, obviously on West Atlantic, new retail, as we are with the CRA, working with those businesses to try to bring commerce to those new locations. So that's something that we're brought to the table for, which is great. As well as with this project, American Social, that corner is, as Jim mentioned, has been office, right? It was office for its entire use in that space. So now to have that retail vibrancy on that corner will definitely help that connectivity from Atlantic Avenue to the rest of Pineapple Grove. So we'd like to see that happen. So moving on to our next item, which is our new business 4A, and we have a waiver request for the venue fee from Rita from the Rotary Club. Rita Ron is the president-elect, or are you president now? Oh, okay.
Elect.
Okay, great. So I will, the Rotary Club of Delray Beach has an event approved through the city for their special event, which is their fundraiser event, and they are holding it for the first time at Old School Square campus at the amphitheater. They're really just utilizing the lawn area right in front of the stage to create their event, and I'll let her share more about the event itself. But this is a nonprofit, and they are looking to request a waiver for the venue fee. Rita?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all you do. I will say that I look at Old School Square as the heart of Delray and the DDA as the soul. So it's an important board, and I genuinely thank each of you for volunteering. So yes, the Rotary Club is the second oldest nonprofit organization here. We have given to students in Delray over 750 scholarships. As well, we are responsible for giving a lot of children their very first book, which is a dictionary. And we also have a lot of important members here who are Rotary members. Ernie and Roy Simon were both Rotary members, as our own much loved Laura Simon is a Rotary member as well. So the event, which is Delray's first annual Kentucky Derby style Run for the Roses event. So I invite all of you, if you are so inclined. And what else can I tell you about it? It's going to be held on May 3rd from 5 to 8. Again, we've passed everything from the city, that they have requested by us. And I would also not only ask for this waiver, but I would love for everybody to attend a Rotary meeting, which is held at the A-Loft most Tuesdays at noon. I don't know what else I'm supposed to ask for. I'm sorry.
Say anything.
Do you have a budget for this event by chance?
A budget? We have budgeted, yes.
Can you share that with us? Just because these are the questions I ask all the non-for-profits for that want to do stuff with us. I say, hey, do you have a budget for the event? Can you share that with us?
Yeah.
Just so we understand, what, we're looking to waive the fees for and the funds that you're going to be putting into the event. Just helps us understand all that stuff.
So, again, this is the first event. We went to professionals to make a determination as to what they anticipated the cost to be. And then also we're relying on your good graces to, obviously, to waive those fees. Again, we were somewhat hopeful because we're, again, the second oldest. Our budget that we were given was between $20,000 and $25,000.
Gotcha. For the that you'll be raising, or what the expenses were?
Oh no, I think what you're asking for is what the expenses are, not what we'll be raising, correct?
Well, yeah, a little bit of both. Generally, again, if I'm out of turn, let me know. But all these organizations, I generally like to see, this is what we're looking to generate. These are our expenses. These are the non-for-profits that we're going to be giving the money to.
Okay.
And, just the general stuff, just again, because,
So typically, we raise, and from what I understand, I'm relatively new to the club, so I'm not 100% certain, but what I've been told we have raised historically is somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $8,000 for this particular fundraising event.
Okay. Again, you can work with Laura. Laura can help with the budget stuff, but again, we just need something I look for. It's also, I noticed it's May 3rd, so that's very quick down the pipeline here as well. So
Yes,
I was hoping
it
that we'd have
is.
a better idea of kind of where
Yes, it is.
financially we were sitting.
Yes, we put pressure on ourselves, but we're an enthusiastic group. We're very excited about this event.
So their event is planned, they're going underway. I think they're really just looking, and they've sold quite a few of the tables and stuff. So the event's been approved and their planning's all underway. I think really it's coming back to the DDA as far as because we have a rental fee for the space, so it's looking for
now
you all.
what's the total fee
So
number
the
and then the
fee,
discount?
so the fee is $4,000 for the for-profit. For a nonprofit, it's $2,000. So they're looking for the $2,000 to be waived.
I think
or
one of
reduced,
the
or
questions that might
reduced,
help
you
Brian
know?
out is, are you guesstimating how many tables you have? It's $800 a table. If you got 10 tables, it's $8,000. If it's 20, it's
Yes.
16. Kind of.
So we have 20 tables. About 65% of them have already been taken. We do have individual tickets, and we just started promoting the event. We didn't want to promote the event strongly until we had city approval, which we just received.
So, do you figure you'll raise money and rent tables and cover your expenses?
Yes,
That's good.
yes.
And
Yeah.
then the $2,000 that we would be waiving for this is going towards, I know it's the Rotary Club, but is it a specific literacy
It's our
program?
scholarship fund. It's our scholarship fund, and again, we have given away 750 scholarships since our inception, and we have given to every third grader consecutively throughout the years their first book, which is a dictionary.
One last question I had, if I may, Chair. The estimated 1,000 to 1,500, that's over and above the 2,000 and the, right?
As far as our services?
Yes.
So that's really administrative and operational
Right, gotcha.
expenses.
I just wanted to
So
understand
that's
it
our
and-
cost, so
Yep.
the fee is at a 2,000 based on our pricing structure.
Gotcha.
So,
I'm
I just
supporting
want-
of it, and I hope it goes well, and we're hearing about the 10th and the 20th and the 30th going down the road, so.
Vera?
Thank you.
This has nothing to do with you. I think this is a great idea. Love a good party, love a mint julep, love a hat parade. But we have got to get a donation rubric. This is where we are again. We talked about this a few months ago, and actually it's so funny because I have some things on my list that I hope that the board will move forward to get done that were mentioned. We have got to get this donation rubric down so that we are not in this situation. We would know if they stepped up to the podium, whether or not they were within our rubric guidelines, so that we can say, wonderful event, we know how much the budget is presented to us, and we would be able to say yay or nay without all the discussion. I am supportive of it because I think our city needs activities at all times. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to support students, and I'm all about supporting kids. But we have got to get our own administrative side together in terms of what it is that we're approving for, which groups we're approving for. So until we do that, we're at a free-for-all with anybody who comes up to the podium. So that's where we are.
Just to say it's never going to happen if we keep approving everything.
And that's it. That we have got to get the rubric in order.
And I think that you've said that
Yes.
exactly as I would have liked to have said it, and I agree with you all, but this is a very important
It is.
group, and the kids' education, especially with the
dictionary.
numbers that have been coming out from surveys as to the quality of what they're getting
I
now.
think only 42%, if I'm not mistaken, because I was at the commission meeting probably a year ago
Eighth
when one of the
graders?
no, this was just
Third.
entering kindergarten. Only 42% of our children, I think, were ready for kindergarten. And that is like knowing your colors, knowing how to count 1 to 100, how to spell your name, like basic things that you would think that between 1 and 5, a parent should be teaching their child, but that obviously is not happening.
And that's prior to them going into an inferior school system, where
Hey, listen, like I was a teacher, you all know that.
Yes.
The parent is the first teacher.
Is a rubric the same thing as like, I thought we've requested budgets before, and is that like, I thought a rubric are like certain things you look for, like it's a Delray Beach
It's a
centric
guideline.
Yes,
focus.
it's
So
just
that
a-
gives
yes.
it more points. And
Yes.
this and
more
that,
like
but
a criteria.
we've always kind of needed budgets to look at stuff and say, hey, this is what we're spending, this is what we're looking to raise, and this is who we're looking to really empower or, give the funds to. I'm just,
So
I don't know if that's a rubric or something we just have to ask that we have put together with
No.
not-for-profit.
In that rubric, you can add a line that says prepared budget that establishes where the resources would be going so that we would have documentation.
our rubric will be our rubric, and whatever
Yes.
we need, Brian will be in it,
Yeah.
and you'll make sure of it, I'm certain.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just the way the stuff, there's really nothing in the package on it. I want to support it, by the way. I'm just saying it's.
I think we should set a deadline, a time frame for us to have that done so that we know that this is the date, whatever that date is, that gives us enough time and say, whether it's 60 days, 90 days, whatever, some period of time so that people that are applying also will know ahead of time that here's this criteria, and, I mean, we can't just make it today and expect them to follow it tomorrow.
Same thing we look for from all the other organizations.
Okay, can we break this into two things? One is our need for a rubric.
Correct.
And
a budget.
And this poor woman,
No,
Rita's
that's
approval, who was sitting there.
Rita, who's wearing glorious
think there's
periwinkle,
any-
by
I
the way.
would just say that
Yes.
I know from my perspective, I would welcome like a checklist. Like if you gave me a
Yes.
checklist.
Well, that's our job, not
That's
your
what
job.
we're,
No,
yes,
no, no,
that's what
okay.
we're
Our
here to
job
do.
is to say yes or no to you,
Yes.
and can someone make a motion, because I think we're all.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All, anyone opposed? Okay, we're in favor, and thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Lo-
you.
Laura,
Thank you genuinely.
And thank you for
could
helping
we
the kids.
please
Oh,
get
thank-
something worked up so that we can,
Thank you.
before next meeting,
Yes.
back and forth with you, please, because they're right. And we really should put together some sort of a guideline that includes budgets and that includes.
Right.
you
I don't know if it still exists, but rubric.com was my friend when I was a teacher. And you can plug in and tell it what you kind of want it to be, and it will tell you how to grade the assignments. So that you gave that to the kids up front, so that when you got the work in, it wasn't blah, blah, blah on page 3 like I used to receive. So that it kind of establishes the benchmarks.
Yeah, I think everyone here is saying the same thing, and I think it's
So
a
this
good
is for
idea.
funding
Can,
requests.
can you, I'm sorry, can you all send her what you
Yes.
want to be in it? Because she
Yes,
just,
that's why I said
Yes.
back and forth is what we need. Everyone's got ideas of what's important to
when do
them
you plan
to
on doing
approve.
that so she has some
Can I get it by
idea?
Friday?
Oh, we have to perform, yes. We'll all give you something by next Friday. Oh, this
This
Friday.
Friday.
I'm sorry, today's Monday. I was thinking it was Friday.
Yeah. The month
By
goes
Friday.
fast.
Okay.
So, yeah. And that's regarding Old School Square and DDA.
No, it's just regarding the like stuff we look for the grants. And again, my general stuff is a budget, how many people are going to be invited, where's the money.
I just
go
wrote that
to.
down. Budget, Delray-based organization, the capacity of the event, so that we can have all of those ducks in a row to ensure that it's also a safe environment for them to flourish.
One of the comments you all had before was and Brian was kind of getting towards this, if the event is planning on raising $1 million, it'd be less likely you want to excuse 2,000 versus an event that
Absolutely.
wasn't going to be raising much money, if any at all. So I think that's why you were asking that question generally.
Right, exactly. Just to see.
I'm
what
not
kind
so
of-
sure I agree with Quentin here. If it's going to raise $1 million to help our kids in the school, I may be jumping up and down to give them the $2,000. I'm kidding.
I'm just saying that's what was said before. I'm not saying that.
And there's also one other thing to consider, which is the Old School Square 501c3 that is eagerly looking to raise funds. If these are fundraising events, perhaps some of the events might be fundraising for the Old School Square as well. And that would be a rubric, a part of the rubric. Okay. Laura, you want to do the A-frame?
Sure. Suzanne, do you have that? Just, I have a simple, so as you heard at public comment from our merchant association, the sign ordinance, or specifically around off-premise signage, which is what an A-frame sign is considered in our downtown specifically. You don't have the clicker. But I just put some pictures together. I didn't really go through a full detailed but I did provide you all with some backup as it relates to the ordinance itself from our city. And as we found in during COVID with the A-frame signage, which was relaxed, a lot of things were relaxed during the pandemic or post-pandemic to get our feet back on the ground, to get our businesses back up and running. And a lot of our ordinances that were holding things back really were relaxed to provide some essential needs, and it worked. And they continue to work today as while they're not allowed, these signs, this is considered a freestanding sign. That's allowed on the left-hand side. What's on the right-hand side is not allowed. And the proposed for this, we want to work with you all and get some consensus. The reason we're bringing this to you is because it's been coming up quite a bit. Our businesses, every merchant meeting we have, that seems to be the biggest issue that they have, is to not be able to utilize an A-frame sign. And they're finding, and we've found that when they don't have it, it definitely it hurts their business. So in reviewing just from last meeting or the past about few weeks, just looking at other downtowns, Charleston, Winter Park, Naples, Mount Dora, St. Augustine, some of these, Sarasota, some from where these businesses have relocated from, they do allow it, and they allow certain things, and they're only in certain areas. There's a lot of restrictions around it, but there's a lot of things that can be done, and we just would like to recommend that we move forward with working with the city to implement a pilot program that could be done for downtown, that we look at it and really come up with some fun things that when you look at a city like ours, or especially the downtown, it's a very art vibe, eclectic area, small business owned businesses predominantly, that really bring character and charm to a resort village like ours. And I think eliminating this, or making it all standard and uniformed, would put us into a different category. So we don't want to eliminate some of the creativity and welcoming and the invitations that can be done by our retailers. I'm just going to show you some of these are snapshots from other cities that bring, this is Naples. So Naples has a wider sidewalk, still has A-frame signs out, but they're, closer to their property line, not obstructing traffic. This, I think, is also Naples. You have on the right-hand sign, it's an easel-style sign. So there's a lot of different varieties that are out there. Here's a very cute little pop-up sign that's, I believe this was also, might have been in Charleston. But again, just showing you some examples of things that are just ways that from communities that do allow them, but still allowing for walkability. So with that, I just wanted to bring this to your attention and really get some feedback from the board. I did provide in your outline is the purpose of signage program and a draft of what we would put in here, from purpose and intent to permitted locations, restrictions, some size recommendations, the content, stability, safety, enforcement. So these can be drafted and put together as a proposal to really see what we can do. And then also which ones, the number of A-frames, so how many, like looking at each block and saying, per business, how many, A-frames, or per block, how many would be allowed and where. Because some areas not necessarily, or not everyone's going to utilize these, or they have the space to use them. So, such as at Periwinkle and the 300 block, their sidewalk is 5 feet wide, so it's not something that could be used there. So, I'm just showing these. Different cities also have all of these signs overhead, which is that's something that we don't have. So, or they have corner signage that directs people off side streets, and then or down the street. We don't have that either. So, I think from our perspective is really looking at what, within the downtown itself, not citywide, but really in the downtown, of providing some support to our businesses. So with that, if you have questions, comments, but really just if this is something that we can move forward with.
Go.
I wanted to defer to Aaron and Al because their boots are on the ground and hear what they have to say, because then I would make my comments from there, because they know it better than all of us.
Go.
I don't have an A-frame sign, so I know a lot of stores on Atlantic Avenue do. I've never said, wow, look at that A-frame sign, I'm going to go in here and shop. Mm-hmm. Not once. Second, whatever code recommends is what I'm good with, because they're the ones who have to enforce it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what a pilot program for A-frame signs would consist of, since we've been doing it for the last 3 years without a program. But if you walk down Atlantic Avenue, you'll see someone has a nice A-frame sign, someone's got a crappy A-frame sign. And the whole A-frame sign thing was brought up for the valets predominantly, so they could direct the traffic to go in. Mm-hmm. If you miss a store because of an A-frame sign, I just don't see that happening. I mean, I understand where you might think it makes sense, but overall, I just don't. If code can come up with the right way to do it, I support code. But for us to say, let's do this, I'm not for it. I don't agree with it because most of the retail shops don't even clean the outside of their shop in the first place.
All right.
We can't even get that accomplished.
So
That's all I got.
and my boots on the ground review. I bought A-frames when I first opened my store, and the city made me take them down right away. A-frames are allowed to be laid against your building, but not opened up on the ground. However, at the time, I don't know that it's still, because there's nothing in the law, but we were allowed to have an easel outside with our menus. An easel being an A-frame, but not all the way to the ground. The legs are open, and then there's a sign. I thought they were the same thing. I fought with the sign woman, and she said no. That was a long time ago. During COVID, my A-frames were upstairs in storage. During COVID, we were allowed to do it. The city gave us permission. The A-frame was vital for us. It was noticeable. When the A-frame was out, business improved. People knew. Remember, a lot of businesses weren't open, so they drove down the street, they saw it, and they knew. I heard from at our business merchants meeting this week from one of the merchants or two of the merchants how effective the A-frames are for them when they're not getting told by code enforcement to take them off. I also know that people are getting fined for doing it, and people still do it. Either they are unaware of the law or they're willing to skirt the law. However, Laura, where did this come from? Did you do it?
No, I work with the Merchant Association, with Mavis.
I just think this is perfect. I think this
Mavis
is
helped us with that. So.
amazing. Okay, Mavis, was this you? Pretty good. Yes. Well, I just went through it, and if you guys have a chance to look at it, I didn't see it until just 2 seconds ago. All the purposes, the content, the stability, the way that it would be licensed, the way the city could monitor it, it's all here. So this is a good start. And I would love to see A-frames, but, and this is my concern, if every single restaurant put an A-frame out, it would destroy the whole Village by the Sea look and feel. As long as we can find a way where, should there be an initial influx of a lot of people doing it, that I hope it will look presentable and that the signs will be tasteful and look tasteful when they're out there. And that's it. Yeah, Aaron?
Like I said before, if the code can give us something that can direct us to do it the right way, but the business owners themselves aren't even maintaining their property that they want everybody to get into. The sidewalks look like, I mean, you don't even clean up your own, they don't wipe. I don't want to use my wrong words, but no.
It would come from, we would work with the Departmental Services Department to revise the sign ordinance. Then code would enforce that. So whatever the sign ordinance is up is where this lives. So it become a part of that it would be either a revision or as a pilot would be tested and then potentially implemented or not. If it doesn't work, then we would have to look at changing that.
And the A-frame sign rule you're talking about, that was when we went lax on the A-frame signs. Jose would come around and say, "Hey, look, as long as it's against your building,
Yes.
it's good to go," because nobody was really enforcing the rules, right? So now we get new code, they clean house, which I really appreciate, and so they're enforcing the rules. So basically, we got away with doing wrong, and they're just pointing it out. So now everybody's getting upset when even when they were told how to do it, the businesses still aren't doing it the way they were instructed to do it in the first place.
Well, A-frames aren't actually mentioned in the law. The code does not mention A-frames anywhere. They're just using, as Laura said.
I think it said it was silent on it, right? Didn't it say it was silent on
Yes.
it, meaning it said if they're not said you can do it, you can't do it, right?
Well,
Isn't
actually,
that
it
what
says all signs not expressly allowed by these
Right.
LDRs are prohibited, and that's why they're enforcing it. But nevertheless, I think what Laura is proposing is a great first step, and it moves us in the right direction and gives everyone an opportunity to find a way to use them if they're good for them.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Vera.
I don't have a brick and mortar on the avenue, but I consider myself a professional shopper, okay? And I've been to a lot of cities and seen a lot of A-frames. There are some wonderful things that happen with A-frames, and there are some that need to also be discussed. I don't want everything to always be rosy, like everything's great. I attended the merchant meeting. I heard some of the concerns that were there, including another look at golf cart parking. But I want to hit on 2 points that Mavis presented to us. One question is regarding thoughtful design and enhanced landscape. How do these signs create a thoughtful environment for shoppers and folks that are walking through, and then enhanced design? The last slide that was shown by Laura with the signs that are sticking out of the top of the building are out of the way. And they allow, when you go to Laguna Beach and all of those places on the West Coast, the high-end locales have those signs that are sticking out of the top of the building with the signs that are dangling that have their own design or logo on them, so that you know that each building or each of these sections has its own sign. Correct. It's like that. But sometimes when you have A-frames and you show chalk versions of them and all of them had happy sayings on there, I've witnessed that there are some people that use their chalk signs for their voice in a way that could put things forth that aren't so positive in terms of our politics, in terms of our belief systems, and things of that nature. And we need a way to regulate that. What I do like about the A-frames that were shown in the previous slide, there were some that were pre-printed. So at least if someone wanted to have an A-frame, if they were going to have a sale, a 50% off sale, they could already have that pre-approved because they had to have it pre-printed to slide into the A-frame, so that we could regulate the messaging that's out there to make it very clear that there is a sale that's happening. It's a different thing when you allow people to do chalk every day. It's great for the little coffee shops when they're like, come in and have a little cup of joe or what have you. But when someone puts out there that, hate won't survive beyond 2025 or whatever, that is something that we need to make sure that we are regulating in our regulations for the signs. But I do think that my suggestion, and this was last year with the hanging sign that I brought here, is that if the business has no frontage to the sidewalk, so the surf shop that used to be open that's behind where we just saw the presentation, they are a business that should have an A-frame so that people know that they're back there. But the ones that are flush to the street, and like Al said, during COVID, yes, it does help. But if we're going to give anyone preference right now, it should be the businesses that don't have frontage to the street, so that we can move their frontage forward so that people know that they're located in an area that's not in the sight line. I don't know that every business needs to have an A-frame, but I think if we're going to do that, we need to make sure that we have a regulation in place so that the messaging is very clear that we're not here to shout down someone else or use it as a tool to disrupt the environment, so that we continue to have it as a peaceful place to shop.
Anybody else have any comment? I think that the apolitical nature of them is a great idea. I didn't think of politics.
I told you I was a professional shopper.
Yeah, and you're
Yes.
a professional walker. I know you're there. I'm thinking of charging you for some of the discoloration on my pavers that you've worn out.
Mr. Chair, one thing I was thinking about is I believe a lot of our blocks are like 640 feet long or 600 plus minus feet long. And if you have 6 on each side of them, now all of a sudden you got 12 signs on a block. Yep. That could get a little dicey. Yeah. So,
Coney Island.
I don't know how to address that, but certainly there's got to be some way to be fair about it, whatever else. I think also maybe you put in some language in there, one that you have to maintain. Hopefully we come up with a consistent A-frame, so they're all
Right.
we have some kind of consistent frame if that's indeed what happens. Then that they must maintain the appearance of that A-frame, and subject to being able to have that A-frame, they must maintain the appearance of their front stoop. Because if they're not maintaining the front stoop, why let them put an A-frame out, as you were mentioning? And so I just think that somehow you got to look through some of those criteria.
Yep.
And if you think about the blocks on the narrower streets that are 640 feet long, that could be 12 signs on one block. And that's
As a former landlord,
Okay.
also, I need to say this. in my contracts when I had properties, I would let the tenants know if somebody stays with you beyond 7 days, they're now considered someone that is occupying space and they're not on the lease. So when you have A-frames that are put out, they should have a time period for the promotion that is in place. So I shouldn't put my A-frame out every single day and just change the chalk writing. It becomes something that's not special. You know what I mean? It's, if I'm going to have a sale, the sale should last probably 7 days. And so I put the frame out, it's for the 7 days, and then I put it back in. Because otherwise you'll have everyone putting these out for the entire duration, 365 days, and they'll just keep changing the chalk on them about what this means. So we need to say that it's for special events. It's not for something that's an everyday thing that just sits out there for the entirety of the year.
Chained up.
Yeah,
to
there's
the pole.
I did notice, I just got this one today before the meeting,
real
the
good.
signage, but there is a draft outline where they do put some stuff. Again, maybe we revisit, because they don't even allow chalk in what they're proposing.
This is Laura's and Mavis's. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just like looking at what they kind of threw on there to start,
Right.
and then, is it,
But when you say A-frame, when you say A-frame and you allow someone who's a shop owner to determine what that A-frame is, we need to make sure that it's very tight and concise so that we keep the charm of the city. We don't open up these, negative conversations, but that it is impactful to the business. At the end of the day, we want to contribute to the economic development of the downtown, but I think once we do this, we just don't want it to be willy-nilly and everybody go out and buy an A-frame.
No, right.
And attach
that's-
balloons to it,
yeah, they say no
Well, sure.
lighting, no flashing, no moving parts, no, like, they kind of have language in there
Right.
again.
So we
I
have
could-
to, and even you could almost have have it apply for a permit. So if I want an A-frame sign, I have to fill out this piece of paper and this. So now you know that Big Al's has an A-frame sign. And so when he didn't have the permit and he has an A-frame sign, he's out of compliance, right?
But please,
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop you, but
no.
the
but-
moment you take a break, I'm going.
Go. Go. That's
All
fine.
right. You'll notice they don't say sale. These are not sale signs necessarily. These are not promotional. People literally put their sign out. Now, mine were never chalk. Mine were pre-printed with Big House. If there was a special event or if I had a sale, then I changed it. Otherwise, it was there every day. It would be outside my store. And my store is very unique. There's very little sidewalk in front of it. But if you keep it within, 5 feet of a building, and there's a 25-foot sidewalk, you've got room for the cafe area, and you've also got room for 6-foot walkway, and they're not intrusive. They become intrusive if everyone had a business like mine. They would really be. But I don't know that you can limit them to just sales and promotions. Everyone does their store differently. That's why there's sign rules and LDRs, because there's so many choices.
I agree, Al. I'm just,
Yeah.
from my travels, both coasts, internationally, all I'm saying is we just think of all of these things. Because this is the board to discuss it. What comes out after we put all the sausage in, which we don't like to see being made, but when it comes out on the other side, it's beautiful. We want to make sure that all of the voices are heard, all of the ideas are there, and everybody brings it to the table so that when they do structure this in a way that is positive for the merchants that it's in there.
It just, in their draft, it just says limited to business name, logo, hours, daily specials, or promotions.
Daily specials.
Daily
please.
specials,
No
that's the key.
third-party advertising or off-premise signage, no offensive or inappropriate language
Or
graphics.
political, I agree with that.
Yes.
But nevertheless, if there's any other additions, I would ask that our board members, we should take time this week while we're writing the other letter to Laura about the rubric, and I have to learn how to spell rubric. We should.
I just learned.
Yeah.
Me too.
We may very well,
R-U-B-I-C.
with a K. Isn't there a K? No K? No K. Okay.
Okay.
All right, but we should definitely send Laura any ideas we have, because she put this together, and Mavis, and we should give them whatever input we have, because there's obviously a lot to say.
And thank you, Mavis. You had a wonderful meeting, and the merchants are so excited for your leadership and your help and your voice, and to bring all of this information together with Laura and to bring that to us. Truly, job well done. So thank you.
Thank you.
At the risk of being rude, I would like you, because I asked you to stay, if you had some comments, I would love to have you come up and share them.
And while you're doing that, Aaron?
Just to reiterate, because I have a business too, whatever code says is what they want to enforce is what we should go by, because they're the ones who have to do it. They're the ones that be held accountable, and other people are going to be complaining about this person doing it and this person doing it. Whatever code puts out, I fully support, because they're the ones who have to enforce the rule.
Should we
We'll
bring
include-
code into the?
Well, I think we'll work with Anthea's team and then also with Jerry's team as well, just as far as enforcement, as well as looking at,
Yeah, this is not something.
It's
that
not-
we
we're-
can push
again, we're
forward.
just-
We have to
we're-
kind of talk to people about it and see if they're okay with it, and if they
nothing's final at this point at all. We're not changing the code today.
100%.
No, the only thing I wanted to say is, for those of you who have been to our merchant meetings in the past, and more recently, I would say specifically like the last 3 merchant meetings we've had are so, I walk away feeling so good every time. Now, because we've got more merchants that are getting involved, we've got, and this is what I really love to see, managers of businesses that are at the meetings. And we know who that person is. They're in the stores working, and that makes a big difference. So in being able to know how to use these and when to use these, we've got people that are there that are aware by coming to meetings. They know the rules and regulations. They help us with their input, because we've had Tweeds, for example, has 17 locations. They're over in Tampa and Sarasota. They've used them. And they asked, are we allowed to use? And we had to say, unfortunately not. So this is what really got the ball rolling on it. They've experienced it in other places, and not knowing, it didn't affect the move, of course, but they came here, and it wasn't available as they had before. So I'm thrilled with the people that are working there now, and I know that they'll work with us to get the right things in and work with the board and get the information that you need to make things work for our small businesses.
Is that why Tweed said, you won't give me the A-frame, we're just going to buy all of the
Yeah,
billboards? Because
yeah.
there's like 3 huge billboards of their business.
Yeah, and have you seen they've got a vehicle too that's wrapped in it. So it's a great concept. It's a good addition to the avenue. We're really excited about it. Yep.
News?
Yes, sir.
Chat, APT?
A little help. Yeah.
Good job.
It's all how you put it in there to get more information coming out.
Yep.
Okay.
It's the best.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, good.
Is there any other comment before we go to the parking discussion? Great. Don't forget, guys, send Laura any information so she can add it and take it into consideration when she presents it to Jerry and the code team.
Mine's on the record, long blocks.
Got it. All right. So next on our agenda is our downtown parking management discussion, which we've now added as a permanent item on our agendas. I did get some data that I ended up putting in the Dropbox for you all regarding February's data, and then also some other reports that I had requested regarding this free lot, which is just the Gladiola lot, because the long-term lot, because it's the only one that has the sensors in it at this time. But those were in the Dropbox for you all to see. And the just for your information, the Old School Square garage is still running, as we heard last month. They're still running very full. March is our busiest time of year in the city, and March probably capacities, which I don't have, but based off February, still very, very, very high occupancies over the weekends and at night in the Old School Square garage. So nighttime obviously is our busiest time throughout the month and throughout the downtown area. So what we're seeing though also is what we heard this past month is, as we talked about, is the special events and employee parking. So that also did come out of one of our merchant meeting. It's like, where do we park during the parades, during the all these places that swell and close down a little bit the city, but we've got to get in and service the customers. So I think, and then also we heard from the merchants from the beach side of like, what about beachside parking and for employees. And so that conversation's coming back up. I know there's the curbside management plan is still working on the data before we roll out anything specifically. But here we are in April, and with planning for next year, we really want to get ahead of this as it relates especially to employees and really giving them guides. We've had some great suggestions which we're fleshing out to give guides to business managers and owners of their businesses for employees as it looks at March. So March, we have all these events coming up. This is where where all the employees need to park, when, what's available. Looking at more of use of the county courthouse garage as well as any other properties on west of Swinton, so that way when people are coming east of 95, parking right away and getting right to their business. So, and then the beach side, really looking at ways to maybe utilize some of the parks that potentially at night, if it's closing, the anchor parks, all those parks stay open to, especially as you're looking at 4th of July coming up.
When the sun goes down, it's wide open.
I know, right. So how do we help that support those businesses too? So, so with that, I also took from the comments from the railroad lot and discussion around the railroad lot, because that is something that has been looked at. And as we look at that 190 spaced location in the center of the 400 or 300 block, that is a timed lot. The times are from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. currently, and it is stops enforcement at 6 p.m. So some of the feedback from the retailers and suggestions on that in that block area, and that's I think that we looked at and brought up as a comment from this board many years ago, is let's extend that time from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. So then there's enforcement from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. in that lot, right? And then now you have turnover and management. It's still free, but the enforcement is there. So it's a 2 hour, if you have a 2 hour limit in those spaces, which is a third of that parking lot, and the 9 hour even, there's enforcement still happening, and that will provide turnover right away in that lot. Does everyone understand? So the railroad lot.
I'm familiar with it, yeah. I still have some questions, though, but I'll wait till you finish.
So that would be, a suggestion right now is if we recommend to change the times so that the actual enforcement, if you will, of that lot ends at 2 a.m. And that was a recommendation actually that came from one of the business owners. It's actually along Atlantic Avenue in the 300 block that has a retail store, and really sees the use of that for the customers that are going there. And the daytime is a lot different than the nighttime, but it would really help the nighttime in that space, because if we started enforcing that turnover in that lot, it could help really those nighttime businesses that are in that area as well. So, yes, sir.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes.
When we started talking about that, and we've been talking about it for years, but I almost got knocked out when I said, let's just meter it after 4 o'clock. That way all the businesses there, you can park for free, and then start metering after 4, because that's when the people come in for dinner and start walking around. I mean, the problem we run into is if we do it till 2 a.m., what are the fines going to be for the people that don't drive off?
Well, it's still, on the side street and on Atlantic Avenue.
Just the employee lot, the railroad lot.
No, but I'm just saying, on the side street and on Atlantic Avenue, it's till 2 a.m.
Yep.
So there's enforcement until 2 a.m. there.
Yep.
Right. So it's just now making that lot part of that enforcement plan.
After 2 a.m., they wouldn't get a ticket.
No, they don't
because
get a
there'd be no
ticket.
enforcement. So they could leave their car there if they park it at midnight.
No, I'm talking about the people that go in there at 4 o'clock and leave at 7, right? That's what I'm getting at, because even if we charge for parking, it's still cheap parking. You go across the street, you're paying $60 for, a couple hours.
Right.
We're not even talking about charging for the parking. We're just talking about limiting the hours that you can be there.
So it won't be an employee lot anymore.
It'll be a 9 hour still, but after 9 hours, you got to move your car.
Right.
It doesn't become an all night spot.
And how does that help the businesses?
Because if the employee moves their car, then people start parking there.
Right. Or because right
and
now
then
you
the
can.
2 hours, so it's like 100 2 hours and like 90 9 hours. And again, The 9 hours seem a little long to me, but again, if we just, instead of even changing the hours at first, we just turned on the enforcement beyond 6 p.m., I think that would maybe help. I don't like piecemealing stuff, but this is like a pretty easy one to just say, hey, the enforcement goes beyond 6 p.m., and the 2-hour spaces are forced to turn over after 6 p.m., and then the people that came in at 7 and leave, or, came in at 7 for how many hours?
Well,
4 hours?
yeah, right now at 6 o'clock, the entire lot becomes a
free lot
becomes a 10-hour lot or a 9-hour lot.
The railroad lot, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
The
because there's
railroad
no,
lot, they occupy the railroad lot from 3:30, 4 o'clock till they get off their shift.
because enforcement ends at 6 p.m.
Exactly. So when we
Right.
were trying to say, get the employees out of here, go park somewhere else, what's the benefit of, maybe I'm missing
They
it.
still have 90 spots that have the 6 hour. The benefit is we'll get those other 100 spots to be 2-hour spots beyond 6 p.m. for turnover beyond 6 p.m.
Right.
If I'm a business owner over there, I'd be like, why are we talking about A-frame signs and we could be doing 2-3 hour limits on these parking spots to get me more business?
Right. Well, that's what we
That's
could
what we're
maybe
trying to do.
suggest
Yeah.
to bring up to the city commission or possibly the parking advisory board, which last meeting, again, we'll talk about in the meeting minutes, but maybe there's a way that we can absorb them because we seem to be talking about parking. And
It's
I don't know if they're
192
meeting-
spots of,
I just
Employees.
don't understand what the 9 hours about.
it's a shift.
I understand, but
That's why they did it for a shift.
when I look at the parking backup here, unless I'm going cuckoo, which is very possible.
A little bit.
If you look, 50%, 56%, no garage, no old school garage is 100% full in what I'm seeing in any of this stuff here. So if that's the case, get rid of all the 99 hours or 6 hours, put everybody, all those 190 spaces at 2 hours, boom, free,
I know,
put it in
that's-
the garage.
That's
So,
why
why
it's such a hard
so here's the
push.
thing, so everybody has to understand. So downtown is more than we want people to come, have lunch, shop, be here. You're here more than 2 hours,
Okay,
right?
so say 4
So
hours.
for a long, all right. So a longer term, that's the longer term place to. Because right now you can only be 3 hours in a parking space on Atlantic Avenue or on the side streets in a metered
Again,
space.
and I think the one thing we talked about
Go to the
also is that
garage.
people could extend that. It should be able to be extended.
I just think we should be pushing those people to the garage
Right.
that
So
are the employees, and we should be getting them there safely at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever when they're coming home as ATMs, as they say, leaving
Right.
with their tips and everything else, and turn these convenient local ones for the people that are spending the money to go shopping and to hit the restaurants and everything else. I just am very confused. As everybody keeps saying that we're 100% occupied, I don't see it anywhere in here in this report, or either of February or March. I think the two reports that are in here that show any time. And this is the heart of the season, and we're not 100% occupied. We're 56%. That means we're 44% unoccupied. That's a big number, and that's 520 spaces, right? Give or take,
Right.
525. And
So
so that's,
100% is like all day long, not at moments. There's moments it's full.
but it doesn't
completely.
show that in here anywhere. When I even look at the hourly and whatever else it shows in here, nowhere in here it gets. I guess it gets close at one point in time, but it's not all 4 floors. It's 1 floor, 2 floor, never to the roof, and then all the way up. So I don't think we're, other than I think like the Del Rey Affair, great big events. Again, I've driven through the lots and I'm in them all the time. I think that the reality is they're not filled up like everybody's saying. That if we're going to take a trial balloon on something, try this. Push everybody out. Say it's 4 hours then. You can only do 3 hours on the street. Say it's 4 hours in that lot for the 200 spaces, and put some kind of signage that says, boom, it's free all day long or whatever in the parking garage. That's one of the things I just don't understand. And then I was, I guess not to carry on, but I'm going to anyway, is about the amount of revenue that's coming in. What percentage of that do we know that the city's keeping versus the vendors keeping, right? I'm assuming this is gross revenues in here. And then, where are those proceeds going? Are they going into creating parking? Are they sitting in a parking fund? Or are they they're not. They're going in the general fund, right? So, again, we put the meters in for parking purposes, right? The money shouldn't be going into, and it's not chump change. I mean, 140 grand for, a period of a month, right? 130 grand, so forth. So it's big dollars. Those dollars should be going back to creating the parking or creating a better parking management and so forth. That just seems to me the very logical, low-hanging fruit to move those people from that free lot. Yeah, we've been used to it. Remember, a while back, we had no parking meters, and my God, the world was going to end. Everybody said the world was coming to an end if we had to put in parking meters. And we've put them in, and the whole idea is to rotate those spaces. And so that's where I think it's important to look at that, and I'll stop there, and I apologize for carrying on.
Jim, that was one of our arguments. We were discussing it, was multiple times on the parking board, and Laura and I were both there, was you got 192 spots over here. The employees are going in at 3:30, leaving. If you turn those into metered, you're not even the pinball museum owner was like, I don't even want you to charge, just meter them so we can get some turnover. And we said, okay. Then we said, well, the 4th and 5th floor of the Old School Square garage hardly ever fill up. So we'll just put the employees in there for free. Then the rebuttal was, well, how do we know who are employees? It's like, who cares, because we're not using it anyway. Just let them park for free. And make that into turnover to create some more money for all the businesses on.
And it's
that
not
area.
a far distance from that lot to the Old School Square garage, or the block.
And then the other one was, well, we don't want people walking with handful of cash because they're going to get robbed. We don't have that problem in Delray, first of all. And second, if I'm a bartender leaving with $300-400 in my pocket, damn near everybody around me's got $300-400 in their pocket too. Yeah, that's true. So you just got to do what's best for Delray.
Security is an issue. Late at night.
We don't have that problem.
Well, I don't want to have that problem start because we're moving everybody into one nice location where we know they'll be with money. But I do agree that there has to be a change in the hours of the spots. We need to apportion it better. I think it's a good idea to review this and really take it seriously.
Yeah.
9 hours, where and when and how. Yeah, Brian.
Quentin, I know we talked about it last time. How do we collaborate with the city, or maybe you can help us? As I know the parking advisory board is not meeting quite regularly, not at all. Well, I think they met like 2 months ago. But again, I think it's something that we talk about, and maybe since a lot of these projects have to come through us anyways, we tend to talk about parking. It could lessen a stop. It would almost be one less stop for some of these projects to go through. So I don't know how we revisit that with the city, but again, it's something I think that could make sense, because it's just, we talk about parking, and I think it's not even like when we say the stuff here, it's there's suggestions. We're collaborating. We look at this, we study it, but it'd be nice to, because we can't even talk with the parking advisory board, because I was interested in going to the last meeting, and again, they didn't meet. So
I saw in the minutes that they reduced the time to wait, if I'm reading it correctly, from 30 minutes to meet a quorum to 15 because they got tired of sticking around for 30 full minutes to have a quorum. And that was in the minutes. I went through and read back on some of this stuff, and I think Laura, you're on the board. I bet you're there for every single parking management board meeting, whether they have one or not, you're there.
Well,
Or you send somebody on your behalf.
No, I don't have backup.
And she's not able to do that either, which is something I wanted to talk about previously.
Per the
as well.
ordinance. So the executive director, but it's not that. It's an advisory board to advise the city. So if there's nothing for the board to review or comes forward as a project or an item that is for input from the parking board, there is no purpose for the meeting. So if that's not the case, then the meeting is canceled.
Right. But if we were to bring a suggestion to the city, and the city was interested in the suggestion would then have to go back to the parking advisory board at some point
Right.
before it would move
Right.
Right, if
anywhere
we
forward.
provided an item for them to review, then the parking board would review it as well. Yes.
This whole thing we're talking about has been being raised for over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And it keeps getting delayed because, well, where are my employees going to park? And then when you give them a place of location, then it goes, well, is it going to be safe for them to go to their cars at 2 o'clock in the morning? It just keeps going around and around. The parking board wanted it, and it got halted. You talk to people from staff who were part of it, they wanted it, then it got halted. So the thought of this is something new is not. It's just something that's never been continued to be fulfilled. Please talk, Vera. You got something.
At this point, you know how they say stop beating the dead horse? The horse is in the glue factory, okay? Because I've been on this board for 3 years, and parking has been a problem, alleged, ever since. But Jim, when he first sat down, he said, I think we have a parking perception. And I'm going to go with that because I think the perception is there's no parking when there's no parking on Atlantic with ease to pull up and get out the door and walk right into the restaurant. Or get out the door and walk right into your favorite boutique that sells $300 dresses. I think that there is, when I come down here, and I Uber down here a lot, but I also, my husband will drop me off, or I occasionally drive. I never have a problem finding a parking space. Never. My favorite one is the one behind the old Dunkin' Donuts, right across. I know, it'll be full now. But that one, or if I go all the way down when I go to Yama to get a sushi roll, there's a lot over in that area. There are lots that still are not at full capacity. Now, at night, you have a little different story, but the people who come out to party at night usually come with a pocket full of money because they're ready to drink. They know they have to pay to park because when you go to Fort Lauderdale or to Miami, you're going to pay to park. But I do believe that the lot that is behind the Silver Ball with the longest time limit for people to park should be shortened. The whole name of the game for our merchants is to turn these spots so that we get new customers coming in spending with new money. I think that one should be reviewed. But the perception that we have a problem, highlight, underline, I don't know. I hear this, and I've been hearing it for 3 years, and I'm like, where is the problem? Because I'm not running into it.
Every parking board survey we've done that we pay a civilian, or I say civilian, it's a military, that we pay another outside source to do, has said the same thing. The end result is Delray Beach does not have a parking problem. They got a parking management problem. There's plenty of parking, but we have too many, well, let's do this for that one and that one for this one. And instead of just saying, how does everybody make more money?
Right.
That should be the result. Yes.
It's the turn. Well, and remember, they came 2 years ago and did a presentation from the parking department and told us that all the employees were going to go on those top 2 floors in Old School Square because no one was up there. It's never at capacity. They have all the spaces available, blah, 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 blah. And we were set to go. Then we start talking about stickers and all of this stuff. So I've been listening to this for 3 years, and I'm like, none of the things that have said we were going to do were done. We did add meters. That did help, I guess, with some, but it made some people upset. And now we're back at the same place again. So I that's why I was sitting in silence, because I'm like, are we doing this again? We keep doing the same thing over and over again. So either we have to change the perception, right? Because people's perception is their own, based on their own reality. That doesn't mean it's true for all. It's their own reality. Or we need to just, let's not talk about it anymore.
I think they said.
What do you have to say to all this?
Well, I think I'm going to go back to what Brian was saying, because I want to make sure that, we get an answer for that, because you brought that up at the last meeting regarding the parking board, and if that's something that, did we close that point?
We did not.
Okay.
Just to answer your question, I think this board has the authority to provide any recommendations to the city commission on parking that you want to present to them. Whether or not it goes through a parking board that meets periodically, it's up to the commission to decide whether or not that's still something they want to have. If the board as a whole would suggest that you want to take over the responsibility of the parking board, that's something that would have to be a discussion with Laura and her team and you all to make sure there's capacity to do those things.
One more thing to Laura.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, she's already has to go to the meetings anyways.
Is that a notion to dissolve the parking board and let the Downtown Development Authority envelop that in to their responsibility for?
That's what I'm suggesting is if that's what this board thinks would be great for the city, you can make that suggestion to the city commission, who has to make that ultimate decision.
For efficiency, that makes sense.
And if I may, that is the way until 94. Until 1992, we were the parking board for Delray. In 92, the commission created the PMAB. Yes? Okay. And I don't know why, I wasn't there, but I would assume that we were becoming very pesky and coming up with great ideas, and they didn't like it. And now that the PMAB seems to be not absolved, but not dissolved, but not in existence, but not being functional, perhaps it's time for us to do that. When the meters were being put in, the DDA made a great presentation that I helped write with Laura, and it worked, and amazingly, the board accepted it, and it's the reason why we only have meters on one block, and it's the reason why we have some of the things that we've got. And if we can make a good presentation to the commission, then we have an opportunity to get movement in the directions we want. But talking about it here again, it seems like we're all going to fall asleep, and I don't know how to proceed forward.
Big Al, just to keep flipping this horse.
I feel like we're turning it right over the spin.
That all the parking surveys that were conducted said that railroad lot should be metered.
Well, that's a discussion that's going on right now.
So I just like the commission to move forward and do it.
I would like one other thing, and that is the mayor brought up right from this seat that he would like to see action on the Gladiola lot, the new build.
Mm-hmm.
I heard it one time in a commission meeting. I haven't heard it since. Has there been any movement at all since that day?
I don't know that for sure.
They floated a bond last week.
They did?
Oh.
Wow. April Fools. Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, that's DDA humor.
No.
That was,
Yeah.
no.
No.
We have
No, what I would
Jeff's in
say.
the back.
Oh, he is in the back.
He didn't hear me either.
Okay. No, what I would say is, there's definitely a lot of conversation, a lot of points, but maybe formalizing something specifically as a recommendation that you all, or a resolution that the board wants to put forward to the city to consider implementing, would be something that we could formalize and bring back to you all next meeting for approval, input, give the community an opportunity to give you input or at least know about it, and then provide that to the city directly.
It does work.
Does that make
If we
sense?
do it well, it works.
Okay.
So we all should get our input and get it in print and get it to Laura so she can go back and forth with us.
And again,
and
if anyone, if you are a city resident and you have the $12 per year parking pass, you can park in the lot. Just want to say that out loud as we're talking about parking, because that would be a place where you'd be permitted to park.
And I think that there's at least 2, if not 3, maybe 4 members on this board that have sat on the parking management. I've sat on the parking management board.
So have I.
There we go.
Yeah.
4 of us have been on the board. So
Just again, something to mention, when talk with the city staff. And again, if your staff, something we can do. I think it would actually help lessen some of your work and having to deal with that board as well.
I think we need to also look at how long the average person stays in the city. So if they come down here, which I'm down here all the time, if you come down here, you eat and you shop and you roam, okay? So I'm down here probably a maximum of 3.5 hours, and sometimes that's 2 times a day. But 3.5 hours to 4 hours maximum on a parking space, I think is pretty, should be standard. If we can get that out there, at least the time crunch period, the time period, right. I think that would salvage a lot of the conversation, because it's a matter of turn. It's just like at a restaurant. You want people to eat, be happy, love it, and move on.
So what we can do also, because there's a lot of different items that have been brought up. I know Brian's brought up a couple of things that relate to the hours and the time duration. So maybe putting all of those in like your bullet 1, bullet 2, bullet 3. These are all the things we want you all to review. Yes, we want that. No, we want that. So that makes it very simple. You go forward, and then we then put that together and recommend it.
In general, I mean, I'm just be clear, I'm more leaning to what Jim and Aaron are saying, really, where it's like, we got to look at this lot, and if we're going to make suggestions to the city, I don't want to do little suggestions here and there. I'd rather work with them to say, hey, and work with the city staff, understand, hey, how do we move this formally to understand that this will be paid parking and garages will just be free. It'll just be easier to understand for people to manage, and then, work on the messaging around that.
And I'm going to open up another can of worms, but it would be nice because now we cried and cried and cried for wayfinding signs. Have you guys seen the number of signs that are around the city? Like some of them are within like half a block of each other. Yeah. There's so many signs, okay? Like you walk down the street and it's sign. And coming off of 95, like it just looks like a parade of signs. We have to get something streamlined, edit the signs that are in the city. Because even down by where, what's the building? Atlantic Crossing, there are 2 poles, like one here and one to that door. And they both only have one line of wording. Which makes no sense to me. I walk around and I'm just like, why? To me, it's an aesthetic thing. And for somebody who is an artist, and that's why Maruska's over there, and she's saying the same thing, is because when you are in the art and you see balance, you know what's supposed to be there and what's supposed to be edited. We need to edit a lot of the signs in the city. So that's why when we talked about the A-frames, I was like, another sign. So we need to like look around and make sure that this is balanced. That's it.
Big picture.
Okay.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Good discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron.
So, based on that discussion, what can we do as a board today saying how we want to get this ball rolling with the railroad lot? Just get it up for discussion, start getting the ball moving instead of just...
Okay, I understand. So, next month, this item is going to be on the agenda for a vote, which will then be transmitted to the commission, that you all want to be more responsible for the parking issues, similar to the parking board, so that they can look forward to your...
Especially in the DDA area.
Yeah, of course.
Primarily, yes.
And look forward to your recommendations, and, that could be one of the first ones that you portray to them, that the hours, et cetera, et cetera.
We could vote today.
Well, as Laura was saying, she wanted to make sure that you had some public input on that, which is appropriate because it wasn't on the agenda for action.
Okay.
Although you can,
I understand.
It's just a.
Well, there should be other. I mean, that was one item, but there was also the item with the railroad lot, looking at those as another item.
Yep.
And, so it seems like there's 3, and then also the times on the meter. So right now there's 3 hours of you can only sit for 3 hours in a space, and then you have to move your car. There was been recommendation to be able to allow now to extend that. So now, if you wanted to stay 1 more hour, like 4 hours, if you will, or over the 3 hours, you can do that without relocating. So.
And I'm sorry, Big Al. Even if the commission decides not to relinquish that authority over to the DDA, you still will be formally providing your recommendations to them for those specific items.
Do you think we should workshop this in a couple of weeks with the board? The board.
Well,
This is a workshop.
This is pretty much a workshop, as Quentin said. No, I think no. I mean, I think as long as I'll try to get this to you prior. I mean, at least 2 weeks ahead of time. If we can all plan to meet one-on-one, so we can go through it detailed. So when we get to the meeting, we are very clear on what we're wanting to recommend to the community. And from the downtown community, because it really is, and it is, if it's about commerce, we obviously want to get the commerce feedback. and employees. And I'm sure, the more opportunity for them to be on board and supportive of what you all want to do will really help this transition forward for sure.
Thank you.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, so great. So, but since we're there, so on the May meeting, I asked, I was going to save this for my comments in the end, but I had, based on some travel and things that the board members are doing, we wanted to move the May meeting to May 19th. Is that okay with everybody? Awesome.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good. So that'll give us a couple of weeks more to put this together.
I said, is that for you guys to buy me a cake?
Is that your birthday?
It's my last meeting.
You
Why-
won't get
you're
away
on
that
here in
easy.
June?
Well, there will be a new appointment. What if they appointed you again? What would you do?
What would I'm going to Greece. What?
What would you do if they appointed you again?
She'd go to
They
Disney
gotta
World.
find me first.
All right. So item 5B. We are moving along into, now, are we taking a break?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll take a 5 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay. It's the most important part of the meeting.
I'm going for 5 minutes whether you take it or not.
Okay.
Oh, Lord.
Excellent. All right, we'll pause for
Turn your mic off.
Thank you.
Just go on pause over there.
do 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 do.
Well, we have our books. We have our beautiful books that we're going to
Read your books.
Yeah, I wanted to speak aside.
You can do a book review. She said our names are in it. I'm not unwrapping mine. You're acknowledged. Yes.
Next come the handcuffs.
Just make sure you hurry up. That's all.
It's just time to get that Band-Aid off. I cannot let that Band-Aid sticking on that part any longer.
I'm dressed up.
Not slow, not slow.
I'm going. I was sitting here going, is this Grandma's Day? I thought I was here before, okay? Probably wore the same dress.
Been going on for years.
I know. What? I've done nothing. What are you looking for, my notes? I know, I've been accused of being scripted. I'm just telling you.
No, she said, Suzanne said it's on.
Is mine on, Susan?
Oh, you want your mic? Okay.
No.
Ready to go? Thank you.
Recess is over. All right. So first, I would like to introduce our newest addition to the team. We have Emily Ovaleris. Ovaleris, why don't you come up?
Come say something, Emily.
Emily's joined us on April 1st as our new marketing and social media coordinator. So Emily is a very local
I am
resident.
local.
So.
I went to Atlantic High School, graduated in 2017. Go Eagles! Went to UCF for ad PR, and long story short, I came back because I just can't get away from Delray. I love it so much. I love it. It's home, and I love the people I work with, and I love the city, and it's so exciting to be here. Thanks for having me, and I'm so excited to learn from you all and just keep pushing the greatness and the amazingness of this city. So thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
for
job.
being with
Thanks,
us.
guys. Thank
We're
you.
so excited to
I'm
have.
excited too.
We're so excited to have Emily. We had about 100 applicants for that position.
Yeah.
So Emily was the best.
Yeah.
So we're really excited. She's jumped right in and really kind of taken over what I call the big three in marketing, which are social media, our email newsletters, and the websites. So those are three big things that we have to do daily. And so she's kind of jumped in and taken those over. She just sent out her first emails last week, the weekend roundup and the Old School Square email. And she's been doing all the updates on both sites and the social media as well. So
I was going
Once
to
she tackled- once-
bring that up. Those were great. I didn't know that you did those.
once she gets those down, we'll give her more. Okay, so DDA, let's see, where are we here? Okay, so a lot of you, but many of you were at Savor the Avenue, right? Was anyone at Savor the Avenue?
I was on the outskirts.
Yeah, it was, we had a lot of people on the outskirts. It was a great event, March 24th. These are some photos from the event that night. It was another beautiful night in downtown Delray, and I just love it because everyone is dressed up and they're on the Ave and they're enjoying all the different festivities. Even if they don't have a seat at Savor, people just love to come downtown and check out all the tablescapes. And once again, the restaurants knocked it out of the park with their tablescapes. We had 1,000 people seated, less than 1,000. It was like 9 something that were seated at the longest dining table in the middle of Atlantic Avenue and enjoying their 4-course meal by 11 different restaurants. But there were 4,500 people strolling the Ave. So a total of almost 6,000 people that night on a Monday in downtown Delray. We want to thank our sponsors. We had 3 major sponsors this year. Rothman Health Solutions, which was our sponsor last year. Los Linderos Tequila came in as a sponsor as well. They not only activated on the street and were giving out tequila samplings, they also provided tequila for the welcome beverage for all of the restaurants. And then Champion Porsche came in. They were super excited to get involved in this event, and I have a feeling all 3 of them will be back again next year. They all raved about it, and Champion brought a couple of their major cars or their newer Porsches, and just gave a different feel to the Avenue that night. And of course, our charity, Cross Ministries, they were there and they were collecting peanut butter, and they said they had an amazing event. They had a bunch of people bringing peanut butter and learning about what they do and the mission that they have of feeding our community. We did get some numbers from some of the restaurants. Yes.
I don't know who won the tablescape award.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, let me go back.
Yes. Only
Why did I not
because
tell you that?
Mark told me that I could not lay on the Cafe Luna Rosa table because it was so good.
Oh,
It was
yeah. So the
so
Cafe Luna Rosa table is the pink table on the
Yes.
upper right-hand side that you
So
see those
good.
people cheersing. They had a beautiful, like a pink, flowery linen. I know, Vera.
So good.
They did not place.
Rigged.
They did
Done.
not place,
But we had Rocco's Tacos, you see on the upper left there. They did a Day of the Dead theme, and they came in second. No, they came in. Sorry.
No, they didn't. They weren't. It wasn't. It was Rose's Daughter. It was La Colonial, Rose's Daughter, and Lemongrass.
Right. I'm sorry.
That was last year.
Lemongrass won.
That was last year.
Again. I'm thinking last year. Rocco's came in second last year. Yeah. So, yeah. So it was La Colonial, Rose's Daughter, and Lemongrass. And Lemongrass was the big balls of, like, clear balls that you see there. Yeah. And that's the owner there on the bottom. And then Lemongrass is also at the top in the middle that had they had the performers too. So Lemongrass really went all out. Okay, back to the results for Savor the Avenue. This is a look at just 2 of the restaurants that participated. Now, Lulu's was new this year, but as you know, Lulu's and Avalon are both owned by the same group. So we got some numbers from them. Last year for Lulu's, this was just restaurant sales. They were about a little over 12,000. But with Savor the Avenue, they made about 29,000 for Savor the Avenue sales. And then their restaurant sales went up that night as well. And then you can see, say, Avalon last year compared to this year, they did much better this year than they did last year. They were also selling their patio as part of Savor and offering the Savor menu on their patio. So they really capitalized on those additional seats on their patio. And Jamie from Avalon and Lulu's said having a day like this really helps to put us in a good position going into the summer months. And it also gives us a chance to let everyone experience our food in a different environment, which is really what Savor is all about, right? It's about branding our culinary scene and setting them up for the summer. And, you know, this is a very expensive event for the DDA to produce, but this is not a DDA making money event. This is really propping up our restaurants and showcasing our world-class dining scene here in downtown Delray.
I have a question. And Laura may answer this too. How long has the Savor, and she knows why I'm asking too, how long has the Savor event been going on?
This was our 16th year.
It's since 2009, actually. We had to cancel 2020 because it was during COVID.
Yeah.
So 15th year, but in 16 years.
As known as Savor the Avenue.
Did you want to expand on that?
I just want to put that out there.
Okay, maybe you can sidebar with the board on that. Okay, and Mariska, I'm going to turn it over to you for the Pineapple Grove Art Care and Maintenance.
Yes, so we have, as you all know, we've been overseeing the Pineapple Grove art that was left to us by the Pineapple Grove Art Board, and we have been changing things up in phases, making some maintenance painting. We now have the Marble Fish Hook is scheduled for May 5th through the 9th, and then the Russell piece on the right, that's going to be taken care of on May 12th through the 13th. After this, all of the work that we had planned to do will be completed, and then we need to discuss the pieces that have been recommended to deaccession. And I have Stephen invited to the 519 board meeting to discuss that with everybody so that we can talk about what we're going to do, what we think is plausible, and what's the best way to move forward.
In Pineapple Grove, in front of the post office down there, on your way to the Arts Warehouse, there's like a big piano thing. When did that, and I'll tell you, I went and took a wonderful, when I tell you wonderful, watercoloring class at Arts Warehouse, and I saw that there, and although I think it's a great piece of art, it is huge for that area. Yeah. So it kind of looks odd. So
I think it's too big.
I think it's too big. I really do. And I thought I brought my my art with me because I thought you'd be impressed by me going and taking my watercolor class and learning how to paint flowers.
Very impressive.
That looks like the Cafe Luna Rosa tablecloth.
I'm just telling you, okay?
And it matches her shawl.
You know,
and
people.
here we go.
I've been accused of saying that I go places that people say she didn't go there, she didn't do that. I am everywhere, okay, using this city, and I went over there, but I saw that piano and I was like, oh my God, that's huge. So, what are we doing?
Well, the piano, we just actually did a little lipstick reno on that, a little bit of
That's why you noticed it.
Yeah.
That's why you noticed it, because it's sparkling a little bit. So it's been cleaned.
Okay.
It does have some issues still. It has some rust in it and so on, but we were not able to address all of that. We just did some quick cleaning on it. I'd have to go back and just look at research and find out when it was donated. I do know that Sean Cassidy was part of that whole thing.
Okay.
And there was either he sponsored the donation or actually made the donation to the Pineapple Grove Art Board.
That's moved
so
once or twice, hasn't it?
Yeah, it used to be down by Pure Life, right?
It has moved, and I don't know the reasons for that. I can find that out, but right now it's actually bolted into the pavement, so it's not moving anywhere. People were concerned about it moving, and it's really bolted in. It's not going anywhere. But if it needed to be moved, we could look at it.
It just looks. I mean, it's supposed to catch your attention, obviously, because it's art, but it's just big.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Okay. All right. These are a look at the numbers. You can see the website. Looks like we were down. These are, I think, year-to-year numbers, and you can see some of our active users and web and page views were down last month over last March. Public relations still holding very strong at our earned media. And I do want to take a look at that because we did, so this is an example of PR, right? We partner with Discover the Palm Beaches and we offer these media tours. We just did one last week with a group of Brazilian journalists called the Wellness and Wonder Tour, and they were doing a tour of the Palm Beaches for all the wellness offerings in the Palm Beaches. We were able to secure them, not only giving them a tour and doing multiple different offerings within downtown, but they stayed here for 2 nights. It's really important when you're doing these media tours if you can get them to stay in your downtown because it offers them a much more comprehensive experience. So they stayed 2 nights at the Opal Grand. So the Opal Grand hosted them. They had dinner at Drift. They took spa treatments. Then we took them on a golf cart tour. Thank you, Pineapple Carts. We did yoga at the Cornell Art Museum, which we do the weekly yoga classes there. Then we went and they hosted us at Avalon Beach House for lunch, and we got some sweet treats at Gelato & Co. And then the next day, they got a personal tour of all the exhibitions at the Cornell Art Museum. So they spent a lot of time in Delray Beach, and they're journalists from all different kinds of publications, from luxury magazines to daily newspapers. And so it's really exciting that we're going to have a lot of...
Do they ever request to meet a board member who would want to go on these tours with them?
Yes, that all came up. They were looking for you.
I'm like, we can definitely invite you. And just to give you an example of what happens, what the ROI in that is. So this was a media tour that the Palm Beaches had organized with Cosmopolitan magazine, and this was the article that they wrote. 20 million monthly readers that they had, and they highlighted the Delray Beach Open, the Seagate Hotel, the Murakami, Dada, Lulu's, and Amar all got billing in that article, which was in Cosmopolitan magazine. So very exciting.
Why did they come here? Was it the USA Today Best Beaches that had them identify us?
What happens is, so the Discover the Palm Beaches has PR companies all over the world, right? And they work with these PR companies to bring these groups to our area.
Okay.
Discover the Palm Beaches reaches out to all the different destinations within the Palm Beaches and says, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to host these people? And, a lot of times we will, be able to secure them coming to our area. We don't always get chosen, but most of the time we get chosen. Yeah.
Thank you.
As far as our email blasts, our contacts are slowly, steadily growing. We're almost at 25,000 contacts that we send out emails to every week, sometimes 2-3 times a week. We have a 46% open rate on those weekend roundups, doing really well. And social media, we are inching up again with the engagements and impressions. We're still a little bit lower than the engagements over last year, but we're trying to turn that around. We've figured you always got to figure out the algorithm and where Facebook and Instagram and all these places are going. So I think we have a good handle on it again about what happened. They stopped putting a lot of weight on reels, and we were doing a lot of reels, and now they've gone back to photos. So we've kind of figured that out and are using that to our advantage. Yes.
Wait, you guys put out a reel of a young girl who was like a podcaster, and about her buying a condo with her mother here. So impactful. I thought that was a really good clip. That
Emily
just
found that.
felt good. Welcome, Emily. Good job. Okay, you go. Because she was like, by the way, guys, I'm buying a condo in Delray. Do you know about Delray? And I was like, yes. Yeah. Very good. And then we had another reel. I don't think you did this one though. We had a celebrity sighting here. 50 Cent, the rapper, was in town. Was that you? No, I wish I was here. Listen, they went and seared his name into the steak bone or whatever they did, and I said, "You go, Delray. Good job." Yeah,
that wasn't on our page.
No, it was okay, yeah. But it was a really good one.
Yeah,
I was in Fort Lauderdale partying at that time, and I saw
50 cent seared steak. We missed that one.
It was a big deal. Listen, I'm in the know. I try to keep my ear to the streets, as they say. My kids would say. Yeah, perfect. I saw your socks. I'm just joking. Sorry, Quinn. I didn't see you.
Paid advertising for the month of March. For DDA, we only had First Friday Art Walk that we were running paid advertising on for the month of March. That is because March is such a busy month. We don't necessarily need to run digital advertising. Our fall and winter campaign ended in February, so we didn't have any fall or winter campaign or spring campaign. Summer campaign is what we're working on now, and that will be launching at the beginning of May. So we are going to have more digital advertising. We are working on a video and some really cool pictures that we're going to be putting together for our summer campaign, for our wellness campaign. First Friday Art Walk, though, we're constantly running digital advertising behind this so that we can get people and let people know about our self-guided tour. This happens every month on the first Friday, and we highlight all the galleries and studios and museums that participate in that. And this is a look at what those digital advertising do. So this is what's happening constantly within people's feeds. It's not like we have to do a post every time. This is constantly running.
Can we talk about this art walk?
Sure.
Because we've been doing this for how many years now? 15? 20, yeah.
15. More, it's probably more. 15.
So I decided to go and venture to another one. And I spent 3 days in Northwood, and I'll get into that in my comments. But they do wine and design because they are building a design district in Northwood that is, it's chugging along, but their concept, I think, is really smart and impactful. If you guys can take a visit there one night on their wine and design night, I brought the bag, so evidence. I'm just bringing evidence so that people know I do things, okay? They have field trip. They have this bag, Shop, Love, Eat, Design, Historic Northwood Village. And they are doing some things over there, and it's like a little city that could. It reminds me of Old Delray because it's kind of old. It's not like updated and everything, but they are putting together a concept that I think we can probably learn some things from going back a little bit to move forward. The fact that they theme it with what their hopes are for their little area, the design part, I thought was pretty smart. So, just a thought.
I like that. Wine with your art. Okay, economic development. So these are all the new businesses that have come online in the last few weeks. We have a new coffee and shaved ice place on Beachside. Groove's Kitchen and Daiquiri, which is on West Atlantic, has opened. Keha Wellness is a tea apothecary in the back of the Delray Beach Collective on Atlantic Avenue. Forum Pilates Studio is a brand new Pilates studio on a side street right off Atlantic Avenue. Loom is a lighting company. Kapow opened. Gabriella's opened. Amanda James is Amanda Johnson, who's moving back into the downtown after being out of the downtown for a little bit. Tweeds, as we talked about, and then Glimmer Cafe, which is getting a lot of attention because it's so beautiful. She's moving on to Third. Yeah, by Glimmer.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I talk about this too?
Yes.
These small businesses. I love this. That's one of the reasons why I went to Northwood. Because I was trying to prime the pump so that the CRA, who I have not yet called, because Renee, I know you're watching because you called me last meeting. I'm trying to get small businesses to move to Delray. She told us to go out and the DDA to help her to get people to go into that 98 building. Well, in Northridge, their average price for rent is around $2,000 until you get closer to the main street, and then it can go up to almost $9,000. But some of those $2,000 businesses are not necessarily happy with their little city, with the services they're receiving from the city. And I thought, well, let me tell you about a place that would help just be supported. And it's a brand new building, and it has all the amenities you would need, and blah, blah, blah. And that's what we got to start doing, to get some of these other small businesses to come into that area and recruit them to go in there. And that should be our target area because of the rent that they're paying. That would be less rent, comparable, but also in an up and coming environment that they would probably appreciate. So that's what I'm up to. Go ahead.
I like it.
You gotta go in.
Okay, West Atlantic Avenue. So let's talk about specifically what's happening there. Groove's Kitchen and Daiquiri, as I mentioned, is now open. This is Southern Soul Food, and they have that outdoor area. Tropical Smokehouse, I did stop by there, and a guy was cleaning up. He said there was a bunch of stuff inside that the owners were trying to get out before they moved forward with their renovations. So renovations haven't actually started yet. I don't know, Laura, do you have an update on what's happening with Tropical Smokehouse?
They're still in permitting process and doing some work there, but their focus is to summertime, getting in there.
Libby Plaza, we have some new signage up at Libby Plaza. I stopped by to take a picture of it, and my friend Fred was looking at the sign. And I was like, Fred, do you like that sign? And he's like, yeah, I like to know what's going on. He said he's in Libby Plaza every single day. So, and Laura, you want to talk about some of the other things that we have on tap for Libby Plaza?
So Libby Plaza, as you know, is part of our initiative to activate the space. So we had a very successful February Art and Jazz, moving forward, working with the Set neighborhood as well as with Thrive to coordinate some activities that are out there, and looking forward to activating on a more regular basis with some simple either music or just some limited, very non-impactful, kind of more passive activities there. So it will help us with our permit process as well as just really providing some activity in that space. We have a proposal for additional lighting on the stage to light that up. It's technically closed at night, but it would add some ambiance more to that space just as you pass by or you're walking to the Fairfield from downtown. So that's coming forward. And then the Sunday Village. So I sit on the construction meetings monthly with the Sunday Village and Atlantic Crossing. And we just had a meeting last week with the Sunday Village group, and they are buttoning up. They're in almost at a 30-day. They haven't really, not officially 30 days, but they're with their completion of the shell of the space. Then now we've got the businesses loading in there and getting their permits done so they can go in and do their interior build outs. The offices are probably the first in there on the second floors to get those finished so they can start occupying the building. But we're looking at really close to getting that fence down, the sidewalk open, the lights are up on the outside. It's looking fantastic. So.
Can I ask a question about Libby? First of all, for Groove Kitchen, I am so upset that I missed the Grits and Gospel brunch that they had on Sunday. When I tell you, like, I was miserable thinking about I missed that, okay? Because Grits is my middle name. It's not really, but it could be. Libby Plaza. So there are some tables out there now that are intended for people to play dominoes and chess, because Mr. Chess, James Chess, really pushed to have those tables out there. I remember when he was on his campaign to do so. He had a tournament at the community center, and I sponsored that tournament, and I bought 18 chess sets so that he could teach kids in the neighborhood at a more expansive effort to teach people how to play chess, because I love that it's a thinking game. It teaches you strategies. It also teaches you life lessons. I'm all about it. But when I drive by Libby, or I'm downtown walking down by Libby, and I see everyone sitting around, they're not necessarily sitting at those tables. They're leaning up against the steps that are over there in the shaded area, but they don't have those resources to even play. So I don't know that those tables that are there are being utilized for what they were intended. So I'm wondering, if someone wanted to play chess or dominoes or what have you, where would they go and check those resources out? Is it the library and take them down there and then bring them back? What are we doing to make sure that people are just not sitting there and not activation going on over there? Do we have a plan, or did they just drop the tables and no plan?
Those are provided by the parks. There are the same ones we have in Old School Square, and those do not have. I think they're intended for people to bring their chess sets and play there. So,
but if I guess I want this to happen.
Right.
So do I need to donate more chess sets to the library so that people can go down there and check them out and bring them back if they don't have them themselves?
Well, that's part of we can bring it back. I don't have the exact answers, so I can find out if there's actual program through the Parks and Recreation Park as far as Libby that they do have. Maybe they're at the community center and then they have to go to the community center to get them, but maybe we utilize that signage to provide.
Yes.
If you want to play chess,
right,
then this is where you go.
Yes.
So let's. I'm sure there's a plan. I don't know.
Love. Thank you.
So.
Okay. Shelley, Visitor Information Center.
So another great month up at the Visitor Information Center. Lots of folks there. Had a big influx of people coming from all over Florida, as well as the South and the Midwest. A lot of spring breakers, of course. Continuing to educate folks, specifically our volunteers, on businesses and things going on around downtown. We did a pop stroke tour. We got brand new shirts. I happen to have the kind of cantaloupe colored coral one on in the picture there. We did some new signage. Huh?
Sienna.
Sienna.
That's a specific name.
We did some new signage in the visitor center to help people know where they're looking for brochures, where they're interested in going, and what they're helping them find what they need. We also did some fantastic rack cards that help people when they come in and they want to do some itinerary building. So not just pointing them to one spot, but pointing to a whole host of ideas that are around downtown. So we have specifically one for kids, one for teens, outdoor activities, and then the backside of that one is going to be golf, swimming, pickleball, and tennis. So to help them find those resources in town easily. We also did some new distribution. We now have information that's going out at the O Hotel, as well as the Bristol condominiums, which is a large complex up north a little bit. And additionally, we are in the rack cards, refilling the rack cards out at Murakami more regularly. So getting some stuff done. Yes.
So I visited the visitor center twice this month, and I actually hosted a little happy hour with some of my sorority sisters last Friday. Mm-hmm. And I went in, but I didn't see, and maybe this is still an ongoing discussion, I didn't see anything about the sister cities. I thought we were working with them to put some kind of little sign in there that says we were affiliated with them and the international cities that we were a part of. Did they not follow through, or did we miss that?
We don't have that sign up yet.
We don't have it up yet. Okay, I didn't know if it was in the
We were
works.
still, we were still painting and doing the renovations there, so we have to get that.
Gotcha.
We have to get that integrated into that space.
Okay.
Okay.
But every visitor is always welcoming, and I love going in there. And now that's where I get my Coastal Star now.
Perfect.
Okay, I go in there because I know you're going to have it. But it's the people that are there are wonderful volunteers. So tell them thank you.
We
truly.
do. We have some fantastic volunteers, and I
Yes.
will say we have about 33% locals that come in, and sometimes they don't even stop. They just run in and they grab an Atlantic, a Delray,
That's
and
right.
a Coastal, and they head right back out.
That's right.
Straight to the beach. So
That's right.
Thanks, Shelley. Yeah, and Shelley.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's for April. Well, we have a brand new outpost in the museum also that we set up that has visitor cards, and we have a beautiful rack that Maruska has gotten. So it's all set up for people to visit on that end as they're coming into town too. So that was gonna be that's a sneak peek of my April thing.
Are you going to get something outside so people know?
There is an eye on the door and working on some more signage too.
That's great.
So yeah.
Yeah, and Shelley had this idea for the itineraries and the rack card for that, so she worked with our graphic designer to come up with that and got those done herself. So that was really nice, because I was like, anything that you want to build that you think might add to the visitor experience, let's do it. So she's really taken that initiative, which is great. All right, here's what's coming up in downtown. From May 8th to 10th, we have our annual Mother's Day Orchid Giveaway. That's where we give free orchids to everyone who spends $200 or more in downtown during Mother's Day week. The AVP Beach Volleyball Tournament is returning to the Tennis Center May 23rd and 24th. That's a very exciting event. And June 1st, we are launching the Love Delray Feel Good Summer campaign, which will be all about our wellness businesses in downtown. So we are going to be offering a savings pass again this year, and then we're encouraging businesses to offer a savings pass. And then we're also building itineraries around the Cocoa Market weekends and propping up those weekends so that we can have people come in town and stay for longer into the week. So we have some big names. We've already just secured one big name for June 1st to launch the program. So we're very excited about that going into the summer. Okay, Old School Square, the rebrand. We are underway on our Old School Square rebrand.
Watercolor artist.
Yeah, she didn't submit. But we did have 31 artists submit, which was amazing. Mostly Delray local artists, many of whom grew up here and have spent a lot of time at Old School Square. We already have met, and the committee has chosen our three. We will have 3 finalists. They were all so good, we decided to go with 3 instead of 2. So we will be announcing that next week of our 3 finalists and their watercolor submissions. So we're very excited about that. So the finalists will be announced next week, and then we'll start that public voting period through the 13th for a few weeks. The winner will be announced on the 19th, and then they will start building those branded house of logos. So we will unveil the whole branded house of logos late summer, early fall when we do this 100-year anniversary. So it is moving along. Last month, we had 31,000 visitors to campus or visits to campus. That's up 11% over last year. So very exciting. 31,000 people walked on those grounds in March alone. Maruska?
Okay, one of my favorite subjects, Cornell Art Museum. We had quite a bit going on in March, and I did hand out my report, and at the very top of the report, I just gave you a quick little timeline of what we have been working on and how quickly we put things together, how quickly we flip things around, so that we can, show the museum to best advantage and have something going for everybody. But it surprised me when I looked at this list, so I wanted to share it with all of you, because I don't know how we survived. But right after this, we had 4 events in a row on the Old School Square campus, right in a row, So we never stop, and especially in March, we didn't stop to breathe at all. So just in case you're wondering what we're doing. We had the Mirror Mirror exhibition opening, which is probably the biggest thing that happened. We had 2 exhibitions open, Mirror Mirror and also Reflections by Andre Lopez, which was a spotlight gallery feature. So we had 63 artists. We actually juried that down from about 120, 125 artists to 63. And then we awarded prizes for first, second, third, and honorable mention. So that was very well received. And everyone who applied for that particular exhibition paid a jury fee or an application fee. So we actually brought in a little revenue with that. That was great. And then we had Reflections by Andre Lopez. So he had 23 works in that gallery. We just did a talk with him the other night, and he sold 2 pieces. So that was pretty exciting. He's a tremendous Cuban-born artist and lives in Miami now. So our exhibition openings, we had an attendance of 600 people for that night. That's a lot of people in the museum on an off night, not on a Friday night with First Friday Art Walk. So now we are doing our openings off of those First Fridays because we're getting quite a number of people during First Friday anyway. We wanted to expand it and get some people in at different times. We had $570 in donations that night alone. And then we did have 1 art sale that night, so that was good too. And then in addition, we had other things happening, but our total attendance was $24.98. Our donations were over $5,000, which is amazing for 1 month. We had the museum store sales of $26.81, and then we did have the art sales for Beatles on the Beach of $12,000, but we received only $2,200 of that, 20% of that. So we can't get too excited about that. Can you go back just one? Yeah. So we had this Chevra chapter of the Hadassah tour came in, 20 people. They were $10 a person, paid for a docent-led tour. Some of them live in my association, and other all coming back, 25 people, to see the new exhibition this Wednesday. So one tour leads to another tour, leads to another tour. That's really exciting for us. And then our icons of our catalogs arrived, and you all have one in front of you, with proper acknowledgments in there for all of you too. So we appreciate your support on all of that. It's a really good book. And it shows all of the portraits that we have on view in the museum right now are in that book. So it's exciting. And we'll be selling them in the museum store for $40 a piece. So we'll recoup some of the expenses from that. And our upcoming exhibitions, we're doing a pop culture exhibition. So we have life-size Rock'em Sock'em robots and all kinds of fun things happening. That's going to be in collaboration with a concert that we have. The Pop 2000 concert is happening on that same day, July 5th. And then we have the Dorothy Gillespie retrospective. So we're going to have these beautiful tufts of metal hanging in the center atrium and wonderful metal sculptures. We have a piece, too, that we want to put on the front of the museum. That's happening in October, among many other things that we're doing. And that's it for the museum.
Thanks, Mariska.
Thank you, Marushka. Thank you for the catalog.
That'll be $40. Just kidding.
When I got it, I said, well, it's under 100. We're good. We're good.
That's right. All right. We had Beatles on the Beach at the beginning of March. Night Ranger and Live and Let Die. It's a 2-day, well, it's more than a 2-day festival, but it's 2 days at Old School Square. So tickets sold just over 2,000 over the 2 days. The revenue was about $22,000 and expenses about $45,000. We haven't flushed out all the numbers yet, but this is kind of a look at just high level, because I know you guys want numbers, but we will be having, detailed numbers in your reports coming up. I'm just going to
jump right in there since we're talking numbers. I wanted to, this is just DDAs. This is not Beatles on the Beach overall. This is really how it relates to the Downtown Development Authority and Old School Squares budget, not the whole overall Beatles on the Beach. This is what our responsibility was. And we were capped at 40,000, so we're in that, our expenses were over that from what we're estimating. We haven't received all invoices in at this point yet. However, the revenue is what we received from the beverage concession percentage, as well as our percentage of the ticket revenue, and then also the percentage of the art sale revenue. So I just wanted to clarify.
And do we know at all how the other side looks?
I have not received a final budget from Daniel Hartwell.
That's something we
I can request that.
Though, I assume.
I can request that. I'm not sure how much he will be
I think
able
it's
to
what we
share
were looking
privately.
for in the first time, and they're like, we can't tell you, it's a lot of money. We got to do
put
it
that
now.
on my
If
list.
we don't do it at this meeting, we can't do it.
That if we give money or that there's a post recap, that should be part of the rubric. That is required.
But that was also discussed, and if we didn't vote on it, he didn't have the information, we wouldn't be able to do it, so we had to do it, and he was going to get it to us. And
we'll bring
it's
final,
really straightforward
final,
stuff,
and final full budget and full final numbers to you next month.
What we don't really
Hopefully.
see, though, is the economic impact to the city for that week.
Exactly. Yeah.
I got a letter from Daniel Hartwell describing, not what you want to hear, but describing the economic impact. I'm not going to go over it, but if you guys would just indulge me, I just read it and I thought, wow, it's amazing. There were over 50 performances, lectures, book signings, and films, 110 musicians, bands, and thousands of fans from all over. Sirius XM personalities showed up, Ringo Starr's all-star band drummer held drum clinics, and there's 20 businesses in Delray that were involved at different levels with meetings and
Brunches.
beg your pardon?
Brunches.
Yeah, exactly. It was just amazing. I mean, the economic impact in Delray is really substantial from that event. We do our job. We don't make money, perhaps in cash, but what we make for the constituents in downtown, it's quite remarkable. He's a great promoter at times, and this is one of those things.
Yeah.
I just think it's
I mean,
important that if we agree that we're going to spend no more than 40 grand, and he says okay, and then we spend over 40, then it's got to get picked up. I mean, if he shows us he lost money, that's one thing. But if he's like, "Oh, I made money," that's kind of how
Why
we
don't
offer.
we discuss that with him, so when we do the rubric and we do it the next time, we can.
We shouldn't be spending over what we committed to.
Yeah,
there should be a cap.
that was what was agreed to.
Yeah, that's it. We
period,
said that here, cap done, and anything over that, dude, that's on you. Yeah. That was what we said.
Not unreasonable.
Right.
Very reasonable.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope 40 grand gets a good economic development pop for the city, because it's a chunk of change out of our budget.
Okay, so Florida Panthers block party. So good. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the only pictures I had were for the setup. So this doesn't show the 800 people that showed up for the block party. But it was on March 21st. It was a free event in partnership with the Panthers. They were very impressed and were excited to come back to Delray. Laura, do you have any follow up to that?
I know that there was definitely follow-up interest of doing something around the playoffs as well, but that was too quick of a turnaround for us to get them back up, to get an event produced within 3 weeks. So made based on the city's permit requirements. But the Panthers had a great experience here, loved the space, loved being in this side of the north of Broward County. So we'll look to do more with them and maybe plan out some things that are more significant going forward.
I loved it. I had a great time there. I asked the cheerleaders when tryouts were. No response. Obvious reasons. But I've attended two games since then. And I just went to the game, which I need the paperwork because someone donated tickets to my husband. So I want to make sure that I have that. But it was I think you did a very good job for that event. And I love that the restaurants were invited to set up. The bakery, La Boulangerie was there. Wonderful. So thank you.
The Twilight Tribute Concert, we did Leonard Skinner tribute. We sold about 800 tickets. Revenue between ticket sales and concession was about $12,500. Those concerts cost us about $21,000. I will continue to say it. It is almost impossible to make money in these situations and even break even because of the hard costs we have to incur on that campus. The fencing is thousands of dollars to put up the fence. The production, because we're dealing with a shell, we don't have any sort of capital investment into that to make it doable and make money off of these concerts. So I just want to make sure everyone understands, and I'll continue to say it, we would love to break even. And if you remember last year, the revenue said 0. So we are moving in the right direction, but it is very difficult with the situation we're dealing with at Old School Square to make money on concerts.
I ask a question because I thought about that. Is it cheaper, and maybe this is a possibility, and I don't know if it's not, so I'm throwing it out there. Is it cheaper to hire the beach keepers to come and do the cleanup than it is to pay the city to do the cleanup, as long as they get it in the bags and they dispose of it? Because the city's charging us how much to clean up the park after it's over?
Again, that's one of the bills I don't have the detail on, but it's the overall expenses from the city are minimal comparatively to the.
But can we even get those cheaper?
We can
They're
look at
already
that.
giving us half off.
Yeah, it's half the we pay 50% of the city services cost. Right. The hard costs are your equipment.
The fencing, the equipment, yes.
Yeah. So
I mean, we don't have to have them. Yeah.
If there was a group, and at one point, something I was like pushing for again, that had the capital, that wanted to buy the fences, that wanted to buy all the equipment, so that they could run the shows and have an opportunity to possibly be more profitable while taking on the risk if it rains and other things that could come up. That's how, again, I think that this could possibly be positioned in the future to generate revenue. Unless we're going to get a bunch of money from someone or the city's going to give us a bunch more money, those are the things that kind of really need to happen to see this.
Well, it is city property, and the city does have, is talking about coming up with capital money to put into Old School Square, and that's really what needs to happen. I mean, it is the city property.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I
there
love private city collaborations.
Well, I mean, that's also part of, collaboration too. If we're paying, if we're for the fence, and if the amount that we're paying on a rental basis could be put towards a permanent fence, if that's how we want to move forward, then that's something that we would look at. Because if you're spending $50,000 on fence,
you got to store the fence somewhere and everything. It's
if it stays up.
Oh, the fence stays up all the time around the park?
In certain spots, or that way it just eliminates that piece of it. So, or we waive fence for free concerts, and we only use fence for ticketed concerts.
It's a possibility.
That would be better.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah,
that's a better option.
Because so they serve alcohol at the free
Well, it's a
concerts?
requirement that you serve alcohol so that it doesn't walk away. But as long as we have staffing for that to manage that, that's just my
so here it's Vera again, the free concert person. And I know you all go out and do free concerts as well, but does the footprint need to be the entire campus, or could you just put a smaller fence around where the alcohol is and you drink at tables within that little smaller perimeter instead of the whole campus? Because it makes no sense that you're going to put fence around the entire campus when the people, when they're drinking, you tell them you stay in this spot. People who drink know they got to stay in a spot. And then once they're done drinking, they throw it away and they come back out to where the concert area is, but the rest of the environment is open. So maybe if we shrink the footprint of where the alcohol is being served with the fence line, then we're paying way less in terms of the amount of fencing we need.
Not that much difference, but as far as square footage goes.
No, because I think people want to go to their seat and have their beer at their seat. They don't want to stand in a little beer garden. They want to listen to the music. That's what and honestly, concession sales I think would go down, and that's one of our revenues. Is concession.
At the end of the day, I understand what you're saying, and we are going to lose some money for some of the shows, and it's just kind of what we have to do to bring the programming to the place. But I just again want to look at the macro solution sometime in the future, and hopefully someone's actually running the stuff that's like knows how to make money running shows. It's tough, you know.
I
Start a
think that's
music
the
festival. It's
capital
tough.
budget, the capital expense. We got to put some money into the
Yeah.
lighting, sound system, things like that. So
We rent it every time we use it.
I know.
Yeah.
It-
The production costs and the fencing are the really big. I mean, production costs well more than the actual band on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at $6,000 to $7,000 each time.
Have we ever looked into the cost of the
So,
fence? If we were that
to
company that Brian's
purchase the
talking
actual
about?
fence, yeah. Yeah, it's then it's
Then you
well,
gotta
it
put it
depends.
up. It's the whole.
Much
there's
better
some
the
initial-
production stuff because that can stay up there, correct? I mean,
Right, there's
you-
certain
you hang
places-
it, it's done, it's boom.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really we've had
But we
we've
get
had
less
people
money every
review.
year,
We've had people review the amphitheater, the building itself. One production company that we just were working with said it's better that it is. It's because I said, isn't it difficult? Is it more difficult to come in here as with setting everything up, or having equipment here that you can use? And he said, hands down, these are our more favorite places to go because then we bring in obviously equipment that will work for us. Versus trying to find a rig to hang from the high ceilings and the bars that are pretty high because we don't have the equipment to hang. So now you have to bring extra equipment in to hang lights and do things up there, or connect to if you're an outside company coming in. So it would be, but maybe down the road it looks at we're hiring or getting a 5-year contract with a company that then they outfit and maybe cuts down the cost going forward. So there's definitely solutions to this, but it comes back to really looking at that longer term solution versus right now we've been really short term. So taking that long term solution and bringing some things forward.
Overall, like again, like a $9,000-$10,000 concert and total expenses loss. Is that pretty good in general? Is that not good? How's that?
Yeah, I mean, this is about what we're doing for the ticket. I mean, you have to remember these are ticketed concerts.
Yeah.
So we are getting ticket sales. So
Right,
starting
right.
in summer, we're going to go back to free. So that will really just be based off of VIP tickets and concession.
Yeah.
So.
Understood. And again, I think it's good. I like seeing that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a discussion that helps us understand where the money's going into, what we're getting out of the money, making sure that the shows we like, it just
right.
Again, going
And
to the
we're not a
budget thing.
for-profit company. We're the DDA.
That's
you know,
correct. And we do
so we're yes at Old School Square. We'd love to break even. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult. It's
No, we
very
can actually-
difficult.
We can actually lose $800,000 and be okay there because that's our budget
Right.
this year.
Right.
So
Next year it could be less.
So the other part that we're not talking about here is the impact to all the businesses around there.
That's
So
exactly
the huge impact that's happening pre, during, and post of all from the activity that's there is 100% better when something's happening there than when it's not.
100%.
So when you look at March, we almost out of the 30 days or 31 days of March, like 50% of that month was full of activity there, which brought huge impact to the town. So we have on those placer numbers, it was 31,000 people to the campus in March. 2 years ago, it's up 80% over 2 years ago, the number of
that's
people.
huge.
So that in itself is really important to look at as well.
It's
So-
our
Even the parking, even the spend on the parking, and even if every single person went and got a glass of wine, I mean, that kind of thing, it's not being captured. The restaurants aren't reporting to us how many people that they're getting from those visitors for reservations and things. So if we did actually calculate that in, we'd see that there was a return on the investment. It's just not directly in those
But
on that
let's
campus.
not forget
Forward.
that we're contractually responsible to make the Old School Square the cultural heart of downtown Delray, which we've not me, which you and the team have more than achieved in the most wonderful of ways. I can't be flowery enough to say how amazing what you do is, and I think the costs are very reasonable, and I'd like to get them down. I'd like to get the numbers up. I'd love to break even, but ultimately we this year with $800,000, as Brian brought up, We use half of what we thought we would, and we're still delivering the product. Wow, that's really good. That's hard to say anywhere else. So thank you.
Thanks, Al. All right, so I'm going to move forward with these quickly. These are all, email blasts, social media, everything looking really good for Old School Square as well. Public relations, killing it, 1.6 billion. That's the online audience our public relations is getting for us when they do earned media for Old School Square. There's a lot to talk about at Old School Square, so it makes it brings attention to everything, right? Website, public relations, what Maruska's doing in the museum, what's happening at the amphitheater, all these things are easy for people to talk about. And this is just a look at our paid digital advertising and search. And this is really comprehensive of what we're doing for all of Old School Square. We have General Cornell Art Museum, a video running that's constantly running. We're doing exhibition digital paid. So this is stuff that's always running. General OSS promotion video, always running, just to remind people. And it all sends them back to DelrayOldSchoolSquare.com so we can remind people that we have new digital assets, not the old digital assets. And that's also what the website retargeting and the paid search is all about, is to get people to the correct website for Old School Square. And then we're also running, digital ads for Leonard Skinner at our Twilight Tribute concert. So these ads are constantly running, in addition to all the stuff that we're doing organically that we're not paying for, just in our time. All right, coming up at the Square this Thursday, we have another Twilight Tribute concert, Zach Brown Band Tribute. So if you're a Zach Brown fan, please come this Thursday to our Twilight. What's that?
It's April 17th.
Oh, oops.
Sorry.
These dates are wrong. That's okay. Okay, so these are April, not March. So April 17th and April 27th is the Delray Beach Concourse, which is another car show that's coming to the Square. May 15th, the Twilight Tribute concert is going to be a Dave Matthews tribute, which I'm very excited about that. And then on May 23rd, we kick off our free Sunset concerts. We're going to be bringing back the Bon Jovi tribute, Living on a Bad Name. They were amazing when they came a Memorial Day a few years ago, or was it 4th of July a few years ago?
4th of July.
4th of July. And they killed it. And so they're coming back for the kickoff for summer and Memorial Day this year. And then, as Mariska mentioned, our Pop 2000 tour in collaboration with her pop culture exhibition at the museum. That's going to be on July 5th. We are expecting to make money on that. So fingers crossed that we can pull that off. Forecasted expenses about 50 grand, forecasted revenue about 90 grand. So hopefully we can make some money back.
Yes, that is with this is a paid ticketed event. So with paid ticketed events come more expenses. We'll have seats, we'll have VIP seating and premier seating, as well as festival seating. So it is they are on tour, so we're part of their tour, and really we'll look at. This is the boy bands in the 90s. We do have meet and greet. We have a Pop 2000 sponsorship opportunity, so it's $2,000, and you'll get 2 seats and meet and greet of the band and of the artist. Personal, it's a smaller meet and greet, so that is included in the $2,000. So, and those are limited. So we hope everybody will, because we have other sponsorship opportunities there, but I'll email out this to you following this meeting. I've got the breakdown of what our forecast is for expenses there, so you can see. But really, it's just helping us sell. Ticket sales are what's going to help us make revenue for this, for sure. So,
okay, that's it.
Okay. Thank you. A lot of stuff.
Awesome. A lot of stuff.
You guys had a lot going on last month. Congratulations, and I can't believe you're still standing. So thank you for making it through. I mean, really, you hired someone. You had all the events. You had the museum displays. You're fixing things. You're doing all of the stuff all of the time, and I appreciate it. And I tried to show up when I was needed, and I thank you for a wonderful experience.
Okay. Where's the entrance going to be on Thursday night?
It's going to be at Northeast 2nd, Pineapple Grove Way.
On Northeast 2nd?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
from this point on, we're in our summer plan. So we have
Nothing
the whole.
like having to walk around. Such a pain in the neck. Okay, I'll be there.
Sorry.
You can do it, Al.
I am that lazy.
See?
Yes, I am.
You're the reason we have a parking problem in downtown.
You know,
Denver.
we could capitalize. We could capitalize on the owls of the world and do a little golf cart pickup for $5. We could, you know me.
I'm for
Or
it.
you can wear a
Okay.
green shirt and you can come work. With
Can't
us.
hear you. What?
How about that? Okay, we have to move on. So we're running out of time. We're over our 3:00 time limit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're on to 5C, which we're just at these final minutes from March. That is just we need approval for that, or so if we have. I know there were some comments brought up by Brian. So Brian, if you want to bring that
I
up.
would just say I would ask that you make a couple amendments to the minutes. One was regarding the DDA and the parking advisory board. There's some discussion on that, but didn't make it in the minutes. And then the other one was Harold Van Arnhem also spoke about budgets and just like for every event, like can we see a breakdown of the income, where the income came from, the expenses breakdown, just so we understand, and then what's working, where we're losing money and where we're making money. So that's all.
Okay.
Do we want to approve them with those amendments to be made? Or
Sure, yeah.
Do it.
so move with the proposed amendments to be made?
Someone's got to second it.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Is this a quorum?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
It's
just making sure. Like,
My mind's
just looking
staying.
around, it's getting quiet.
Yeah, we lost a few people.
What are
Or
you up
one. We had two.
What's your
100%.
comment on the finances?
So we are now on February financials. So part of this this item I had on here the budget amendments, but we are moving that into May, and I'll also be looking at potentially bringing forth a date for a workshop for review of the budget, as well as looking at starting to plan for next year as well.
Okay.
So
And how did the budget go with the city and their thoughts? And do we know what we're looking at going forward? Or
I don't know at this point yet, because they're of it. So, but
they
for
just started,
us,
I think, last week. I think if I recall, was
they did.
first budget hearing.
So we have to put on our schedule for our budget planning for our millage review, and also for our amendment. So I just reviewed our financial. All the invoices came in for March. So I wanted to flush that out first before we bring forward any amendments to you all. So it's a little premature putting it on today's agenda. But regarding February financials, I have your backup memo in here. As far as our revenues, we're at 85% of our ad valorem revenues. Looking good. We still need to realize some of the sponsor income that we've secured, so that will be reflected in next month's. As far as expenses go, we're real on track within February with our art and jazz expenses and marketing around those programs. And then as we look at Old School Square, our program income and venue rental income are coming in pretty strong to help us with our revenues. And then you look at our expenses. We're running pretty straightforward with what with all of the events, the museum, everything's kind of on track at that point. But again, we've got some areas that we're going to add dollars into based on some other need for our operations going into summer. Any questions?
Any questions? Wow.
I got
There you
that
go.
link a little late. I'll dig into it for next month. We're running late, so fine moving forward.
Okay. Do we have an approval?
Aren't we tabling and moving forward, or you want to?
No, this is February financials. This is not budget amendment. This is just February's financials. That's what I just reviewed.
Brian, you okay with moving this forward? Or?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second?
Oh, I thought he was saying yeah for the second. I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And now we're on to comments. I did my comment already, but I just wanted to say thank you to the team. Amazing work
They're all
this
done, right?
month.
We took care of them already, didn't we?
No, we didn't.
And I wish everybody, so I know it's a Holy Week. Passover started on Saturday, and our Easter celebrations this week. So happy Passover and happy Easter.
Quinn,
Happy Passover and happy Easter.
that's your comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Just one comment about looking forward to the potential of new ad valorem tax coming in with projects coming online. So kind of a forward-going budget instead of waiting to hear if there's any way we can kind of get an idea of these new projects, when they're going to come online, the big projects. I mean, 'cause I still think the values are going up in town and everything else. When the additional large projects, Sunday Village, that's probably the soonest. Which, did we get an update on when that's supposed to be opening up and so forth?
They're looking for 30 days, you said?
Right. So they'll be done with construction for their I think they were TCO to move in for their move-in build-outs, but people won't be moving in there. So it's until probably midsummer.
So January of next year,
yeah,
we should
January.
anticipate them coming online, right?
Or before?
Well, no, it doesn't.
not
They don't
before.
start till the next year, so.
Yeah.
So that should be a
before
pretty
January.
significant boost in our revenue.
Do you know how much the value of the project is, real estate?
So only a portion of the project is in our district, so we have to keep that in mind too. Half of the project, unless they've extended,
good-
unless they came in. Yeah, which I
Half a
have to
ham
find
sandwich is better than no ham sandwich at all.
And the good half.
Especially if you skip lunch.
Real quick, and we could pick it up next month. I don't know if you guys have reached out to the Coastal Conservation Association and the Coral Reef Consortium. I don't know if I'm getting all my acronyms and names right, but I know Jim Chard's kind of taken a lead role in working on the coral reef replenishment and doing these plantings. And then also, I was lucky enough, I was on the CCA when we did the artificial reef. We dropped 11 reef balls, and then they recently did the Bob Dorton drop, which was a memorial. And I know that stuff's being studied, and it's like part of our downtown, and it's really could be like a lot of ecotourism around people that want to dive and see these like habitat we're creating, which is also in itself really important. That Delray Beach, is creating habitat. The ocean was just being destroyed. So if we could just connect them and see how maybe we can tie that into part of downtown and economic development, because I think there's an opportunity.
Get some video footage out there of, it
Yeah,
may take
there's
a little
research
while
being
for
done.
the
I don't
stuff.
know exactly who's doing the research. I know that,
The city. They did a
Ramsey
presentation
would-
before
The
the
city-
city.
What's that?
Yeah. They did a presentation before the
Yeah,
city.
but there's two different groups. That's one group, right?
Yeah,
And they're
there's two.
looking to do stuff. And then there's the Coastal Conservation Association, which is the group that's already done 2 different drops. And we have been creating artificial reef.
Are those is that
Cognizant.
is that part of your comments? Just so.
Yeah, it was part of my comments
Okay.
from last month. It was in the notes. And I'm just following up saying, hey, maybe just kind of get the dialogue going. Because again, I know people are doing things. And I think that's a big part of our downtown is, even though it's not quote in the DDA district, the ocean and the beach kind of is, part of what we're focused on. So, and again, just if you guys could find, I'm sorry, I know you're tight on time, but it's just find the
No,
time.
I'm just trying. I'm processing, trying to figure out the best.
You know the ocean quite well.
I
That's,
do
that's
know
your
it
hobby.
very well.
So
I know Jim
come
Charles
on.
doing some
I'm just trying to find, because I know we have a lot of information around the blue flag, and if it's
Right.
included
It
in
all
that,
ties
and
in,
all ties
yeah.
in, sure, and just how that would really
You think
integrate into what we're doing. So
You think Jim Chard would like
as far
to
as
present to
destination
us?
tourism,
I'm sure he would. They're actually doing tours. If anyone wants to look into it, I know he's taking people to the live planting coral, facilities. There's one facility, and they're getting a bigger one. They're doing tours coming up. So if you're even interested in checking that out and hearing about it,
You want to ask Jim if he wants to come on the agenda next month and speak about it?
You can just come to public comment and mention, what's
Sure,
going on, and
yeah,
just
just-
try to
You can
engage.
ask him
It's
to
just about
stop by.
engaging, just make sure everyone's talking. 'cause
We'll
I
ask
think-
him to stop
no,
by.
it's not that we're not talking. I think it's just really trying to figure out if we're going to promote it and put it on our website. Just processing of how we message that out and where that falls into
We've already been promoting
Current-
that. We had,
current
we
information.
did last summer. We did the whole dive out to the to the shipwreck, and we got all kinds of great undercover videos. So we're I
shipwreck's
mean,
very insane.
yeah, I mean, I guess we could connect with Jim and just see what
and
what
the
they're working on.
CCA also. 'Cause
Yeah.
again,
We'll
Jim's
just
not
bring it
gonna-
back to you. We'll bring back some details
Yeah, I just
of
brought
what
it up
we've,
last
what we've
meeting
done.
at the end, and just kind of I don't know if anything happened. I know it was a really busy month, so I'm just
Nothing happened
re-bringing
other
it
than
up so that we
being
can.
in meetings then.
No, that was real low on
Yeah,
the priority
yeah.
list.
I know, I
No,
understand.
no,
That's why
but
if I don't
you're-
mention it at this meeting, then it's
Right.
60 days before I
Well,
mention
why,
it
why don't
again.
you reach out to Jim as a DDA board member and connect us and just say, hey, if you want to connect on anything specific, maybe
Yeah, I already
maybe
did.
you
I
do
went
that.
to their luncheon.
Well, tell them to come and talk to us.
All right.
Vera? No.
Okay, listen, I go fast. You guys just don't believe me. All right.
When did
I
you
have
go
some thank
fast?
yous because there's some people that didn't show up for the meeting that are some of our partners. And, you know, I try to make sure we thank people. I have to give a big shout out to Mr. Moore. I do 11-mile walks once a month with one of my sorority sisters. We get up at dark 30 and we start walking, and I walk around the entire city, all the way down Linton, all the way to A1A, all the way back up Atlantic, all the way back around. And every walk that I've done, I send him texts on that Sunday morning saying, here's the problems. And I will tell you, by the middle of the week, all those problems have been solved. So, Mr. Moore, if you are watching, killer dude, thank you. I appreciate you, and I'm glad we got those tennis shoes off of the electrical lines on A1A. That was concerning, so thank you. And the fire department is looking so cute. Love the red doors. But anyway, the next one is for the Del Rey Affair, for the chamber. I actually did the full experience. I took the shuttle. I went and parked over at the place where the buses were picked up and brought us into the city, and they did a U-turn on Atlantic. And we have to fix that. That is a safety issue, bringing that bus all the way down Atlantic and then doing a U-turn where the bus has to back up and people are walking right around that big love sign, which the love sign was beautiful, but I thought it was a safety hazard. The bus was very clean. Holly, my driver, was very professional. She's an attorney by trade, and then she drives buses on the weekend. Welcome to America. And so we need to fix that so that the bus has a route where it doesn't have to back up. I'm hopeful that can happen. The other thing is the first few booths when you walk in should be some of our best vendors. A lot of the reels that were on Instagram, people took of the Palm Beach Shoe Company because it was so vibrant. They should have been up front because we want to make sure our best vendors. And the surfboard table guy was fantastic. It was beautiful. If those two were up front, I would have felt like that's the Del Rey that I want to come to an event for. But shortly beyond there, some of the vendors that do just basic imports, I know it's a money grab for the booth rent, but we got to do a little better on that. So I also wanted to say thank you to Mrs. Odom and to Coco Golf. I attended the event at Pompey Park with Coco Golf in town. They gave out tennis shoes, free tacos, food, pizza, all the vendors that participated. Thank you to our city partners. I got the opportunity to talk to Captain Gary for an extended time about how well the cameras are working for the police department. Thank you all for your service. And I also want to thank you for what you did to take care of what was going on at that buy-low market. You guys did a good job. Thank you. And then the last thing is for the CRA. Renee, I know you watch. I went to my watercoloring class over at the Arts Warehouse, which I talked about earlier. Here's the evidence, okay? I want everybody to recognize my skills. But these were sitting on the table next, on the little shelf next to where you check in. And it says paint up, signage, funding assistance up to $5,000. And then the SNAP benefits, which I've seen this flyer before, but this one was brand new. And I thought, how many of our businesses know about getting their businesses painted and getting the financial assistance from the CRA? I don't know how many, but this is the second time that I've seen something that has been so important to the west of Del Rey, the other side of Swinton, and I don't know that it's being shoved out there. I don't know that they've all received it because I asked a couple of the vendors and nobody knew, and I was like, okay, we got to get this fixed. So maybe the reason why I brought this up, the CRA in Boynton is doing a hell of a job on social media. They're doing reels with their small business owners talking about what the CRA does for them and how wonderful it is and all the events and things that are going on. And Boynton is on our tails. I'm just telling you guys, they're really, really pushing hard to make that a destination with their night market, their free concerts that they're doing. They're doing a lot of stuff that we've already put out there, but they're trying to catch up to us. back to Northwood. You got to go over there. The guy who's in charge of the merchants, his name is Will. Please talk to him, CRA, because I've already primed the pump. Don't make it look like you're stealing the vendors, but there are some people that live in Delray that have businesses over there, and they should be back in our city. So the antique guy, Northwood Antique, he actually lives in Delray, and so does his employee. I'm sure they would want to come back if we can find the right place for them. And then the last but not least, I take notes so that I could do this. That was
the last.
No, that was it. No, wait. Oh, and then for those that don't know, I'm hoping that the merchants are listening. My seat is open beginning in June, so I'm actually in the portal. So I've been watching a lot of Stephen A. I'm in the portal.
It's actually July.
Yes, July. The job becomes available. But I just wanted to let you all know that was available. I did reach out to Julie Casal, who will be making the appointment. So if you're interested, Julie Casal is the person you need to speak to. And from then on, they will take you through the process, the DDA. I told her if she has no one that wants to do this, that I would do it for another 3 years, but I'm not pushing, and I wanted her to make her own decision. But I thought it would be beneficial to make a courtesy call to let her know that that appointment was hers and that my term was ending. So, again, DDA, CRA, all of the A's, hopefully we will continue to prosper going forward.
Are you done?
Done.
Okay, thank you, Vera. All right, I only have one thing to say because it's so late, and that is that we had a meeting last week. The city put on an education seminar for the restaurants, and unfortunately, well, actually for all the businesses, the city is now taking a very serious effort to protect the water sewers in the city from improper, illicit drainage. A few fines have been issued. And unfortunately, very few restaurants showed up, and only 3, and one of them was me because I was there for the DDA. It's really important that we educate the businesses on the Ave, and I guess all over the city, but certainly for us on the Ave, concerning illicit water drainage into the sewers. The fines are substantial. The city is taking a very serious approach. It's a whole new approach from what's been, because apparently we were all kind of unaware, and so we need to make sure we educate. And I'm asking, Laura and I have spoken about this, but it's very serious, and we need to educate the restaurants and the businesses on how not to.
Is this specifically about what they're putting down the drain?
Well, people wash their car, and that's illegal. You can't pour the water onto the streets with soap in it. We can't. The water drains are just for water, and because they empty directly into the bay and the oceans, we must protect them. So there are sort of easy ways for us to spray wash the streets and protect, and we need to educate the people so that they'll do it and avoid the fines, and most importantly, protect the sewers. So we're going to make a serious attempt at education,
of course, yeah.
And that's it.
Does that go into the welcome book?
It's going in the welcome book. Yes. Yes.
I'm hoping.
I wish it was in there. It's
I'm
not in
hoping
there.
the city reevaluates the fines and stuff, but for right now, that's the gist of it all.
Yeah. So the meeting was at the library, and our suggestion was bring it to the street. Basically, let's do an in the field type of training, type of
one other thing.
recommendation was that. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. ACM, for sitting in.
I was here, I listened, I know some of you don't think I was. But
I knew you did. I watched you. You were awake, and it was great. It was nice to know you were there, and I'm glad we didn't have to bother you today. Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Is that good?
Move to adjourn?
Yeah. And you, okay, meeting's
Second.
adjourned.
Great.